Butt Kicker Gamer 2. What you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Ever witnessed someone so fast on track you doubt you could ever be on their level? The mission of Advanced Motorsports is to demonstrate the speed is achievable for everyone. With the expertise of some of the best sim drivers in North America, we are set to release free content on social media and comprehensive guides on our website. For those seeking the ultimate experience, our Advanced Motorsport Institute and personalized coaching sessions are the way to go. No matter your level of experience, we invite you to follow us on our social media to learn to be fast.
A couple of days ago, there was a very big anthology album released by somebody you may have heard of named Taylor Swift. It was 2 full hours of music, and people were saying, is this too much Taylor Swift? Is this too much of the same music? But you know what? I've got a solution for that. Instead of 2 hours of Taylor Swift, how about 2 hours of PRL racing tonight? 2 hours of non-stop action. None of this is going to be repetitive, and you can bet your bottom dollar that Jack Antonoff hasn't touched any of this. Welcome to round 4 of 2024 Season 1 for the LMP3-GT4 Challenge and the GTP LMP2 series here in the PRL, come to you live from Imola right now and Long Beach a little bit later. My name is Joey Tebben. With me in the booth behind the scenes, or rather in front of the scenes, is Derek Watson. Behind the scenes is Mr. Destinalis, who's back with us again on a Monday. But Derek, we're back to Imola. We were here a couple of weeks ago for GTP and LMP2. It was a little bit wetter, or a lot a bit wetter, I should say, but now we're in the dry. It's a little bit more normal, only as normal as the LMP3-GT4 Challenge can be, though.
Yeah, Joey, you know, I don't know who Jack Antonoff is, but I know I'm excited for the racing on tap tonight here. Starting off here in Italy at Imola with this beautiful racetrack here and lots of cars lined up to go. It's going to be another wild and crazy night of multi-class racing.
You haven't heard of Jack Antonoff? I guarantee you haven't heard of Aaron Dessner either, but we'll continue on. Motorland Aragon is coming up next week, one of the newer tracks, so we're getting into a sort of a unique section of the calendar. We started with some old classics, some of the old tights and twisties of Barber and Zandvoort in Atlanta, or Road Atlanta rather, and Imola coming up this week. But then we moved to Aragon, we moved to the combined Nürburgring, we go to one of the newest tracks on iRacing with Algarve, and then Laguna Seca and Spa to finish things out, a pair of classics to close things out here in LMP3 and GT4. As we've mentioned many times so far this season, much wider tracks and much more suited tracks to multi-class racing than we've seen in some of the past seasons. And as such, we've seen a little bit less of the goofy incidents and some of the drama that we got at places like Rudskogen and Willow Springs and places like that. But so far, Jason Drescher, your defending champion, has been almost undefeatable. He has been defeated one singular time, but that's all. He's still the championship leader, 157 points, 19 over Chase Wilson. So far, it has been the Jason Drescher season, but David Duino won last week. It was a very good week for him. He could be putting on a championship charge before too long, Derek.
Yeah, he could, really could. And look at that tie, by the way. 3rd, 4th, and 5th, all tied for 3rd. That's Dorino, Leroy, and LaRue. So one of those guys could have a very great night and really pull ahead there. So a great job here in the driver points. If you take a look at the team points though, Joey, it is a little bit of the same. Grant's Garage has a pretty big lead, 43 points over Moradna's M Squad. Turn 1 and done, 210. The Rob Clark crew, Team Red, pardon me, 198. And down for there, Joey, this is a plethora of teams hoping to improve their standings.
Yeah, and all 5 of those teams in the top 5, they're going to be competing for this championship. That's how even things are in this LMP3 team standings. There tends to be one stronger driver, one slightly less point scoring driver on all of those teams, and that's evened out to a very exciting teams championship. And speaking of exciting championships, it's AAA up at the top of the GT4 standings. Aiden Young and Adam Brockway, your 2 winners so far this season. Aiden Young's got 2, Adam's got 1, but Arnaud Genet very much within touching distance, only a couple of points off the championship lead and a couple of podiums for him. Floyd Kerr, very strong last week as well on the podium. Former Supreme Court Justice William Brennan, how fast has he been this season? He's been kind of under the radar, but he's been picking up points, he's been consistent, and he's very much in touching distance of the championship lead and there in the top 5. Ted Lowendick looking to turn around some of his bad luck and finally get his first win in a GT4 car. Adam Ostrich, the Flying Ostrich, trying to get his second win after he was victorious one time last season. The team standings are very interesting in GT4 similarly because, just like in LMP3, some of the stronger drivers don't actually have teammates to hold them up, so it comes down to consistency and it comes down to who has the strongest 2-driver lineup. Hyperion Racing with Floyd Kerr and William Brennan, very, very fast drivers, so no real surprise to see them up at the top of the time sheets, or at the top of the championship sheets, I should say. But Adam Brockway with the Moradna's M Squad and his teammate, I believe Barry Sessoms is the one on the Oceana Coffee team, but I'm gonna have to double check that, make sure that's accurate. The Miracle Flow Misfits as well with Ted Lowendick and Doug Evans, 2 friends of RaceSpotTV, so we can absolutely say that Ted's going to be scoring the majority of the points this season, but Doug, all of those points are going to matter because the Miracle Flow Misfits, if Ted does especially well and Doug can stay out of trouble, they could pull out the GT4 Teams Championship by the end of the season. But that's about it for the bookkeeping in terms of championship standings, and now it's time for the bookkeeping in terms of our financial standings. This coverage is brought to you by Advanced Sim Racing. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision 5 coupon code. Racebox Sim Racing offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, their button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxsimracing.com and also get a 5% discount, also using the Precision 5 coupon code. This coverage is also brought to you by the Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat with the Butt Kicker. Moradna's is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. For more information, visit moradness.com. Mr. Hedge iRacing Photography. Capture your finest, proudest, or simply worst moments from your hobby in up to 8K resolution. A great addition to any sim room. And last but not least, Advanced Motorsports. Get ready to learn to be fast with Advanced Motorsports. Follow them on their socials to become a better driver. All right, that's all of that in the books, and now it's finally time to take a look on track. We've got cars, we've got qualifying, and we've got a few minutes left on the clock for the best laps to come on the board. Starting out with Ted Lowendick and his McLaren. Hasn't been the fastest car all season. The Mercedes has been the one to go with, but let's see where Ted can put this McLaren in his first time lap as he comes to the line.
Doing a good job here so far, currently trying to put a time on the board here. And Ted, of course, has gained a lot of attention, I think, on the broadcast so far, Joey, because he is in that McLaren. And I think, if I remember right, the only McLaren in the field. So he always kind of gets noted for that. 156.82 puts him 5th on the board.
Not a bad position, but he's definitely going to be hoping for a little bit more time on this next lap. Is he going to be able to pull a full half second? That's going to be a big question, but the timing is looking good for him. Through the first sector, he's looking pretty quick, but you got to hold that up for the entirety of the track. Chase Wilson coming through Tosa now. As you look at the top of your screen, Vincent LaRue has actually put it on pole in the number 22. That could be a big result for him if he can hang on to that for 2 more minutes. He's been on the podium. He's fought for wins before, sort of on the precipice in this series before. He's never started from pole, though.
No, he's someone who's really come to life this season. I feel like he's just not his first PRL season, but really the first one where I think he's really, put together a nice set of performances here. And just did that, by the way. I looked over maybe 30 seconds ago, and Drescher was up in the pole, and then Duino and LaRue both got by there. I mean, Duino also less than 1/10 of a second from taking the pole himself.
And Derek, in the last 2 seasons of LMP3 competition in the PRL, we've had a first-time winner. In last season, we had Nicholas Karangis winning his first race in LMP3. The season before that, we had Jason Drescher winning his, or actually that was last season as well. We had Jason Drescher winning his first races. Before that, we didn't. It was Sean Campbell and Alec Bergstrom doing all the winning, but there is a streak going. First-time winners very popular in this series. Can Chase Wilson maybe add himself to that tally as he crosses the line? He's going to have a little bit more work to do, though, as that lap didn't actually count. He got an off-track, and David Duino now goes up to the top. He takes pole away from Vincent LaRue.
Yeah, I just took it by, look at that. Look at that time gap. It is not, I mean, that's what a piece of paper worth of space between Duino and LaRue. And that's a pretty close battle here. With only 41 seconds left, LaRue is not on track, so he's not going to battle for it. So that is going to be David Duino's unless another LMP3 on track can come in and snag. Look at that cow painting. Maybe I want to get like a Dell computer right now.
Beautiful stuff. Michael Terrafino in the Team Beef Mercedes. We always love these liveries. Adam Brockway puts it up onto pole into GT4. That's good news for Michael Terrafino. That's good news for the Mercedes runners. Adam takes it away, but can Michael join him up there? Coming out of the final corner, foot to the floor, full throttle. It's a race against the clock now. Is it going to be a sub 150 for Terrafino? Can he take away pole? Not quite. Crosses the line. He does improve, but only by about 1/10, and he's going to stay P8, as that's the end of qualifying, Derek. And not much of a surprise in terms of our pole sitters. Adam Brockway second in the championship. He'll start for pole in GT4. David Duino, your defending winner, he's back on top to start this one. Yes, here it is. Indeed, and Derek's driver, Vincent LaRue, starting alongside him in a newly painted car. We got purple for Vincent LaRue now, instead of the Corey Precker Deluxe with the black and yellow. That'll be very differentiable on the front row. Jason Drescher starts from P3. Championship leader going to be looking forward for the first time in a little while this season. Christian Garreton starting alongside him on row number 2. Matt Dinsmore, driver who's used to running up front in this series, he starts P5 alongside Eric Leroy, sort of the underdog of this season. He's been on the podium nearly every week. Ian Starker, good qualifying from him to put at P7. He'll start alongside Chase Wilson. Calvin Myatt starts P9, and Corey Precker, now easily differentiable, will start from P10. David Steveson for the Moradness M squad starts P11, and Samuel Ma, very consistent last week, he'll start from the top dozen. Nick Taylor and Mikey Smith make it all Rob Clark crew on row number 7. Doug Sorrentino starts alongside Scott Angelo on row number 8, and Sean Mulholland rounds out the top 17. Couldn't tell you if he's actually going to race this week. He's sometimes racing, sometimes on admin duty. We can only wait and see. But down in GT4, we know Adam Brockway and Aiden Young will be racing as they have all season. That is going to be your championship battle in GT4 if things keep going the way they are. And they'll start alongside each other today. Floyd Kerr, third last week, starts third this week. He'll be alongside Arnaud Genet, breaking up that AAA party. And the Miracle Flow Misfits start alongside each other as Adam Ostrich and Ted Lowendick, Porsche and McLaren, that make up row number 3. Cade Smith starts P7 alongside Michael Terrafino. Then it's Turner Schroll and Kalen Tobin rounding out the top 10. Jerome Bertiome, the head honcho of the PRL, is P11. He starts alongside former Supreme Court Justice William Brennan. Unlucky 13th went to Dean Kerr, no relation to Floyd. He starts alongside Nathan Deering. Then Dan Willis and Barry Sessoms round out the top 16. 2 more Adness cars on row number 8. Michael Doyle and Travis Pruitt looking to stay out of trouble from the 9th row. Robert McGeehan and Doug Evans, 2 of the most popular drivers in the chat, start alongside each other. Jordan Branch, last driver to set a qualifying lap. I'm not sure that's entirely intuitive of his speed. I don't think he was 22 seconds off the pace. I think we'll be looking for him to move forward on once the green flag flies. And then Nathan Jennings and Will Jennings, neither of them able to get a qualifying lap in, but they'll start shotgun on the field in a pair of big fast Mercedes. Look for the Jenningses to be moving their way forward as well, Derek.
Yeah, lots of names up and down that field who I expect to have really great days or maybe outperform themselves. But really, I mean, I think the person who outperformed himself the most is Vincent LaRue, up on the outside pole and nearly the pole of LMP3 here. And they're trying to work their way into finding the green flag here as they come around the final corner.
Can we say this is the closest Vincent Leroux has ever been to a PRL win? He's got many, many minutes on the clock before he can even start thinking about that, because David Duino will lead the field to green and immediately takes that green. They're almost stratified 1, 2, 3 already down the front stretch, as Jason Drescher in the draft of Vincent Leroux already looks to his outside. It'll become the inside into turn 1. They'll battle for second as Duino runs away on the left of your screen. In GT4, they've taken the green flag as well. It looks a little bit like Talladega yesterday, as they're almost 3 wide down the front straight. Aiden Young with the pounce, with the move, gets to the inside of Adam Brockway into turn 1. Can he be later on the brakes, though? He's got Arnaud Genet behind him to the inside of Floyd Kerr. Young and Brockway side by side in the right of your screen, still side by side through Tamburello as one of the Hyperion cars goes off in the back, and Aiden Young does hold on to the lead.
Man, what a difference the left and the right side of your screen makes, by the way, because man, the left side of your screen is pretty calm, single file, just sort of racing by, along. Right side is pure chaos. They were just over there, and yeah, you saw a car off track in the background. Look at him here going again on the right side of your screen. They're starting to sort it out, Joey. Oh, there's a car. Did I see a car go way up in the dirt there?
Yeah, a couple of cars in trouble in LMP3. Corey Precker and Samuel Ma falling to the back of the field, and Cade Smith on the right of your screen. There he is, finally rejoining the racing surface, right behind that Hyperion Mercedes. That's actually William Brennan. I thought that might have been one Turner Schroll potentially in the grass, but no, that was former Supreme Court Justice William Brennan falling to the back, and he'll be looking forward for the rest of the day. Back up front, though, Jason Drescher got by Vincent Leroux almost instantly on the start. Very savvy stuff from a driver who's probably more used to starting up front, and now he's putting the full pressure on David Duino. He's within draft range, Derek. If he really wants to, he might have a shot into turn 1 here.
Yeah, Duino could have the shot in turn 1. I was thinking the same thing as they come down here through turn 17, and they get started to make another lap here. And see, oh, your screener's on 4-car line. Man, that car tucked in there like a Talladega move. I thought he wasn't clear.
Drescher's not going to make it happen to turn 1. It's going to be absolutely awesome to turn 1, though, with Doug Sorrentino, David Steveson, Nick Taylor, Mike Smith, and Corey Precker are all going at it, and they do manage to sort things out. That's Sorrentino holding, or that's not Sorrentino, rather that's Nick Taylor holding on ahead of Steveson, ahead of Sorrentino. 2 cars painted identical from the Black crew of Rob Clark crew. Samuel Ma in trouble on lap 1, unfortunately, pulling into the pit box. Not sure what happened to him, but bad luck after a top 10 run last week. In GT4, Ted Lowendick's up 2 spots. He's up to P4 from where he started. But other than that, Derek, fairly calm so far, as things are about to get even less calm now in GT4. The 2 Porsches of Adam Ostrich and one of his fellow Porsches, Turner Schroll, were going at it there, coming through the exit of Tamburello. And the number 420 from Big Fast, that's Will Jennings going around.
And that is Will Jennings going around there, part of Big Fast, as he said. Got it moving, though, so hopefully not too much damage to that GT4. And of course, some updates today in iRacing. Joey sort of affected the damage that a GT4 can take.
Oh, curve on curve violence. Floyd and Dean come together, and that was a little bit of extra aggression after the initial contact from one Kerr to the other. I think the stewards are going to be reviewing that, Derek, and that is not what you like to see. We applaud family members running into each other, but Dean Kerr and Floyd Kerr aren't actually related. Oh, and no, Mike Doyle in the crossfire. Travis Pruitt in the crossfire as well. And I think Floyd might have made it through there. Robert McGeehan made it through for good measure, but it's absolute chaos in the middle sector, Derek.
So what, Joey, that black car, then it was Pruitt, made a beautiful 720 and really caught the car and kept moving. Luckily didn't get hit despite both spins across the track, and we'll keep moving here. But all of a sudden, calamity broke out right about the 32-minute mark in the GT4 class. And, I was just starting to think to myself, man, this should be calmer than that wet race we called 2 weeks ago for the other class.
Drescher gets into the back of Duino through the Villeneuve chicane and throws it off the road. Leroux's through, Garaton is through, and the entire LMP3 field is through. He was so close to the back of Duino, thinking about making a move through there, but front end to rear end contact sends Jason Drescher to the back of the field.
That's curious. I don't know if maybe Drescher thought Duino was going to break later or what happened there, but I don't know if he actually got in the back of him or he's kind of freaked out and slammed on the brakes, but man, he quickly went off track there.
He definitely did end up in the back of him, but well done to not hit anything, to not get into the wall or make any further damage on that car. So a good save at least. Let's ride on board with Jason Drescher as they come through the chicane. He was so close to the back of Duino, thought about making a move potentially, but then a little bit of contact to the rear end sends him off into the gravel.
A little bit of contact, maybe a little bit of dirty air action got that car kind of wiggling as well, because yeah, typically when you have contact like that, the car in front would be the one who would have a tougher time, but well, you know it's not.
Here's what happened to Cade Smith on lap 1. We can start activating the carousel of entertainment, and yeah, into Tosa. We kind of circled that as a problem corner at the beginning of the race, Derek, before we got on the air. We knew something was going to go on through there, and unfortunately, Cade Smith was the victim.
Yeah, and that beautiful retro Pepsi machine did not have the luck he wanted through that corner, but now we're watching here. He's starting to get that line of GT4. Now the GT4s have decided, I think they've had enough of the craziness, and now they just sort of want to calm it down. Let's watch a couple more replays here of that carousel, Joey.
Yeah, if you've had enough of craziness, you're not going to like this, because we got the carousel of entertainment coming up. There is Will Jennings. Pretty straightforward. I wouldn't even call that crazy. I would say that's happened to basically every driver of a GT4 car at Imola, just clonking it over the curbs and having a little bit of an issue there. Adam Ostrich in live pictures in trouble a little bit deeper in the field in GT4. One of the more Adness Mercedes is going to get by him, and Jerome Bertiome looking to attempt to get by as well. Here's what happened to the Flying Ostrich. Just a little bit too late in the brakes through Ravazza.
Yeah, a little too late in the brakes. He got it up in the sand there and was trying to get it back on track. And this is a difficult thing to do at a track like this with so much traffic, is to get yourself back on track here. And this is going to be Ostrich, Kerr, and Jerome, 8th, 9th, and 10th right on your screen. And good pick. Even that's that Floyd Kerr behind him in that blue car. So
Nathan Deering.
Nathan Deering, sorry, the wrong blue car. Back in 11th. So even a 4-car battle here in GT4.
Yeah, I'm not sure where Floyd Kerr ended up. He's actually a couple of spots behind us. We will probably look at that replay, potentially, if we have it loaded up on the carousel of entertainment. But yeah, that's definitely going to be one that at least one of those drivers is going to be submitting to the stewards to review, because that's one of the nice things about the PRL. They don't have live admins who are reviewing incidents, but after the race, there is a driver steward, a team of admins who will look at incidents and hand out penalties. So you do have to make sure you're well behaved. You do get punished by iRacing scoring system. You can end up with a disqualification from incident points, but you can also get a penalty afterwards, and that's what happened to Michael Doyle with that beautiful 720 you mentioned, Derek.
Yeah, look at that. Just went around there and luckily caught a gear and kept moving. He just got bumped from behind, looked like. So yeah, I mean, in a race like this with different cars, different classes, and time is a factor. Sometimes you just try to outbrake someone into a corner, and well, you're wrong, and you're tapping them instead, and spin them around or looping them or whatever you do. Here's another LMP3 battle. That's Corey Precker. We now know that, thank you, with David Stevenson right behind you. That's for 12th and 13th. Corey, of course, part of Ease Motorsports.
There he is. We got him, finally.
I love when these guys have their team shirts, everything lined up. It just helps that. It's so cool to see, a driver in any virtual team is proud enough of what they do that they're willing to wear that, obviously, in quote unquote real life, and advertise that.
Yeah, I've been missing seeing Corey Precker's face. It's been too long. He's got some nice stuff behind him. He had the Joseph Newgarden poster. I think he may have had a trash can. There's lots of nice stuff back there. I look forward to seeing Corey Precker's face many more times this season. David Stevenson's probably going to be a little bit too far back to actually look for a move into Ravazza, but his more Adness M Squad teammates in the GT4 class are getting down to a little bit more business. Dean Kerr goes around in the exit of Villeneuve, right ahead of Floyd Kerr, rather. Floyd got in the last lap and gotten back ahead now, as Dean is just trying to find a clean piece of track to come back, and he says, nope, I'm towing back.
I got scared for a moment, Joey. Watch this here.
Oh, Jerome got him.
Not by Jerome.
No.
Yeah. When an admin gets you, hard to protest that, isn't it? Like this.
And Jerome was quick to point out that at Zandvoort the other week, Derek, when somebody was turned around in front of him, he pointed out that it wasn't his fault. He didn't actually make any contact. That time he definitely did. Let's see it from the rear bumper. Bonk.
Yeah, if you're going for the hockey reference, would that be a hip check?
It might have been. Was that high sticking? I don't know.
High sticking? Yeah, I don't either. It could have been offsides for all I know.
Huck to the face?
Yeah.
Something like that. We'll see. We'll see how he recuses himself from that investigation.
There's 2-minute minors and 5-minute majors, and I don't know the difference.
Neither do I. One of the Jennings is trying to get out of the way into the Variante Alta. I believe that's Will ahead of Travis Pruitt and ahead of seemingly the entire LMP3 field, getting a little bit held up here. Matt Dinsmore in the fight for fourth, trying to hold off Ian Starker, trying to hold off Eric Leroy, trying to hold off Jason Drescher, and trying to hold off Calvin Mayen. It's a full-on LMP3 chain coming down into Rivazza this time. No changes of position. Now they're 3 wide into the final corner as Eric Leroy says, thank you very much, I'll take P4.
Wow, that was as tight as I've seen a battle at Imola in a long time, for at least for that one corner. That was crazy how that worked out. And in fact, everyone got out of it okay. Let's go back in our replay machine and take, oh, that's, sorry, not replay, this is a live shot, sorry. That's Drescher right there, Jason Drescher with that beautiful mono. We talked about that last week, didn't we?
This is so dicey into turn one. That was so late in the brakes for Matt Dinsmore to get back around the outside of Ian Starker. And now Jason looks on. You know what he's seeing on his monitor? He's seeing his teammate Ian Starker directly in front of him. No team orders, though, into Villeneuve. Starker defending that position, holding on for the moment. They're coming to a little bit more traffic, though. The next Jennings is coming. Doug Evans is coming. I think Michael Doyle is about to be passed as well. This is the thick of the GT4 pack. It's multi-class traffic, and Matt Dinsmore and Ian Starker and Jason Drescher, they're not only thinking about passing each other, they're thinking about all these new chicanes they've just found.
Yeah, moving chicanes.
Oh, Jason.
Oh, my goodness, Jason. I was going to say, this was, by the way, the topic of the drivers' meeting today, Joey, was this kind of scenario of blue flags and multi-class traffic. There's been some complaints from some drivers about the lack of respect for them. And Sean Mulholland was leading the meeting today and just simply said, hey, guys, we've got to be more respectful about the blue flags because we need to clean up that bit of racing in little bits. And it's still a little scary here.
Jason Drescher has gone just total sicko mode in the last lap of this race. He got by his teammate Ian Starker 3 wide with a lap car. That dive on Matt Dinsmore into the Variante Alta. This has been incredible stuff from Jason Drescher on his recovery drive, and Eric Leroy is going to be very scared as he looks in his rearview mirror. The Moradness intra-team battle continues, though, as Barry Sessoms and Dan Willis are side by side. Jordan Branch says, I'm going to try and make this 3 wide, use the grunt of this BMW to beat these 2 Mercedes down the front straight. Jordan on the inside of Barry. Sessoms later on the brakes, though, and Dan Willis trying to make it happen around the outside. A little bit of a bumper to the side of Jordan Branch sends him off the road.
And, Jordan Branch did a great job. Oh, hold on.
And that's Drescher. That's Drescher. He was side by side with Eric Leroy. They go around on the exit of Tamburello. Drescher, all that progress forward, all the way to the back again, even further back now.
Wow, that's a car without missing a hood there and all kinds of things. Oh, that is right there is Drescher coming back around and probably just frustrated and needs to wait for that car behind him. But that's so unfortunate for Drescher to got caught up in that multi-class traffic. And now here's Eric Leroy now, part of that Moradness team, now up in P8 and trying to get around to G. That's Pepsi machine right there.
Now Calvin Mayen is going to be one of the happiest drivers on track. He's somehow managed to avoid all the trouble. He's only driven forward, and he's up into P4. This is his best race he's ever had in an LMP3 car. He's going to be getting a little bit worried, though. Chase Wilson all over the back of him. Is he going to think about the Jason Drescher move into the chicane? Yes, he is. He's not late enough on the brakes, though, to actually make it happen. Mayen hangs on to that for the moment. But something's gotten into these LMP3 drivers today, Derek. They're usually crazy. We usually see some exciting stuff in this series, but it's been especially dramatic today. As Ian Starker says, really we're not done. I'm joining the party now.
Yeah, Ian Starker said he wants to be part of it. What I was thinking as we looked at that last camera clip, part of it might be the way we're using the curbs here at Imola, which could be the way those cars are rocking up and down those curbs, obviously offsetting the cars. And there went a Moradness car in the background there. It was off track for a moment. Is that Doug Sorrentino in the back of that shot?
Indeed. Matt Dinsmore has brought it down pit lane, though, Derek. He sees all this chaos. He probably saw this 3-wide GT4 action down the front stretch and said, it's about halfway in the race. I might as well get my pit stop out of the way and try and find some clean air. Because I don't know if you want to be in the center of this. Cade Smith, Jordan Branch, Barry Sessoms, and former Supreme Court Justice William Brennan going at it. They do manage to stratify that out and go single file somehow. I couldn't tell you how, though. 3-wide in GT4 doesn't often work, and somehow they have made it work.
Yeah, I was thinking as I saw that shot, man, I might just pit here. Like, if I was that driver, I might just go ahead and pit, get out of this traffic, find some clean air, calm down a little bit. But no, they're going to get into it. Let's see another replay here that's being queued up in the system and see what we got ready for you. It might be loading in here. Let's see me with Drescher. Watch this. Slow. That's hard to see from an angle.
Yeah, trying to squeeze it into the hole. Little bit of latency potentially between those two cars, but that is that's the dastardly nature of Imola. It gets tight, and some of those squeezes don't always work out. Right on board with Jason Drescher is, yeah, that he's lucky he didn't get involved with Jordan Branch and make any contact there, but that tends to happen on the exit of Tamburello like that. Doors close, drivers come together, and Jason Drescher and Eric Leroy both bear the brunt of that damage. Jordan Branch, though, is going to be laughing, though, because he was looking in his rearview mirrors and he didn't get hit. He's still in a totally clean BMW.
Yeah, and he had just been on track right there. Let's watch Ian Starker here and see what's going to happen to Ian Starker. I think it's hard to tell from that shot. Maybe it's got up on the curbs.
Yeah, definitely got that car lifted up off the ground, and it's one thing to carry too much speed into that chicane. It's another thing to have all 4 tires off the ground, because I'm no physicist, Derek. It took me 2 tries to pass physics in college to get through the first level, but even I know that when there's no tires on the ground, the brakes don't tend to work, and there doesn't tend to be grip.
Yeah, it's less of a race car, more like a skateboard at the X Games at that point.
Yeah, planes don't really stop that well.
No, that's true. Planes don't stop that one, unfortunately not. Here is Aiden Young, I believe, getting passed by Brockway, or at least an attempt to pass here. What would be camera right in that shot. Part of Fiercely Forward is Aiden Young. And looks like Brockway must have cleared him with the way they took that corner.
I don't know how these...
Sorry, I take that back. That was an LMP3 in that shot. Here comes another one here getting around Aiden Young.
And I don't know how these 3 guys always manage to find each other. They're AAA. They're the main characters of this season in GT4. Aiden Young, Adam Brockway, Arnaud Genet. They've locked out the podium at a couple times this season, and they may just be prepared to do it again, as Michael Terrafino's about 6 seconds behind him. These guys have just totally elevated themselves over the field. Shouldn't really be a surprise with Aiden Young and Adam Brockway, 2 of the strongest drivers in the PRL. In many types of competition. See Aiden Young in all sorts of prototypes. You see Adam Brockway in the PRL Cup Series now on the oval side. Arnaud, very fast as well, but it's good to see him in a GT4 car again and really showing performance in a way that he hasn't in a little while. And he's going to be fighting for wins this season.
Yeah, likely will be fighting for wins this season. You know, Joey, as we're watching this battle here from 13th on back, and we've seen some multi-class racing in the past couple laps, I was looking at the track map and I was thinking to myself, there's really not a good spot for an LMP3 to catch a GT4 on this path. Like, some tracks, there's big long straightaways, or there's this big obvious corner where it's better. But how often this track twists and turns, I can't think of a good place, for a multi-class pass to happen that doesn't slow somebody down.
Yeah, that's been the story of this series, I think, for as long as we've had it in the PRL. This is It's season 3 now, if my... Oh, Doug Sorrentino in big trouble through Villeneuve. No nose whatsoever. You can't really identify what car that is anymore, but now you can. It is indeed Doug Sorrentino, and that is not going to be very fast as he's getting back by Michael Terrafino and Ted Lowendick. That may have happened, passing our GT4 leader, Derek.
Let's take a look. Takes the outside corner, and he get tapped. Either he got tapped by Young, or he came really close getting tapped by Young in that moment right there. So we'll have to wait and see if we can get a different camera angle here. Let's watch it from Aiden Young's point of view in just a moment here, and we'll see what happened. But man, Aiden Young kind of pushed him way out wide, but I don't know.
Multi-class racing gets very, very tight sometimes, and it's gotten even tighter in the top 3 in GT4 because of that, because you saw at the end of that replay, Brockway getting very close to taking that lead away. We ride on board with Young. I don't think you can really put that on Young. That's multi-class traffic. That was a risky move from Doug Sorrentino trying to make it happen around the outside, and no harm, no foul there. Racing incident between the 2 classes. But as I was saying, Derek, what that's done is that's brought our top 3 very close together, and Arnaud Genet, just as he gets within touching distance, he says, I'm coming down pit lane. I'm trying to find some clean air. He's going off strategy to try and jump Young and Brockway.
And that surprises me about Sorrentino on the same topic. I was like, the good news, quote unquote, for Sorrentino is that he's within the pit window. He could have come down and got, and pitted and got some damage fixed and put some gas in that vehicle. I'm surprised he didn't on that lap. I can't imagine that LMP3 runs that fast without the front end. But here's Calvin Maya and Chase Wilson up here for 4th and 5th. Chase, it's been, I think, in P5 most of the race, if memory serves correctly. He's kind of chasing down the different drivers, if you will. So having a pretty good run here overall. Listen, if your average spot all day is P5, in some ways, that's a moral victory.
Yeah, not bad at all. Could he get one more potentially as he's sending that nose to the inside of Mayant, making sure he knows that he's there, but once again, a little bit too far back to actually make that kind of move happen. As we are in the midst of the pit cycle here in race 1 of the night, just a reminder that we will have another race after this, and I specifically mention this because it's one of the most hotly awaited races on the calendar. It's Long Beach for the GTP LMP2 series coming up at the end of this race. I'm very excited for that. There's going to be a lot of funky stuff going on there. If you thought this was chaotic, Derek, if you thought the usual LMP3-GT4 fare was as chaotic as it is, Long Beach is chaotic in any series, even a single class series.
And imagine if it rains.
I don't think it will, but I wish. I wish.
Yeah, I do wish too. Well, I'll tell you what, Arcade Smith is wishing to get around Jordan Branch here and is trying to find a way around him. You know, earlier I said that retro Pepsi livery, Joey, but Pepsi's kind of gone back to that look a little bit officially. So I don't know if that's a tribute to the retro Pepsi look or if that's the current Pepsi look. But regardless, he's trying to wheel that thing and see if he can pop himself up in P9.
I just like the name. We usually call him Cade, but it's fun to say Arcade Smith. He's like a game. He's like a little Pac-Man guy. Adam Brockway and Aiden Young down pit lane, though, trying to cover off that Arnaud-Genet strategy potentially, or judging by the fact that the rest of the GT4 field is in, they've just reached the hard end of these fuel tanks. Lowendick is in, Ostrich is in, Stroll, Nathan Deering is able to go one lap longer, but the important blend is going to be here, Derek. Brockway and Young versus Arnaud-Genet. Brockway wins the race out of the pit boxes by a full second. He's actually jumped Aiden Young for the race lead, but will it be the race lead, or will Arnaud-Genet be your race leader? He's coming down the front straight now with a full head of steam as Brockway's accelerating. It's going to be a conversation for second. I don't know if he's going to be able to take the lead. Will Genet be late enough on the brakes? Not quite, but he has taken P2, and Young falls from first to third in the pit cycle.
Yeah, pretty big gap right there, too. I mean, almost probably a 2-second gap I'd see there on your screen between those drivers. So that's a pretty big gap to lose on pit road. That shows you how important pit road entry and pit road exit can be. But now Arnaud-Genet is going to be all over the back end here of the class leader, trying to get some pressure, trying to kind of, you know, put some oomph onto him, see if he can make him nervous.
Oh, he's there in the exit of Tosa within a 1/10 of a second. That is in a heavy braking zone. That's within touching distance. I don't think it's going to happen, though. Coming into Piratella, a little bit too high speed of a corner. He's not side by side. A little bit of a bobble from Brockway, though, getting a little bit wide. This is some of the ultimate pressure, Derek, and it's from Arnaud in those referee colors with the bright orange as well. You can very clearly see him in your rear view mirrors. And now there's going to be 2 LMP3s to join the party. Samuel Ma coming through, Matt Dinsmore coming through. Can Genet pounce on the door that's opened by Matt Dinsmore? Not quite. Dinsmore does get by Brockway into the chicane, but Genet still all over the back of him. Look for a potential move into turn 1. Arnaud's not giving this one up.
No, he's not going to give it up at all here. And so now, as you said, it'll be a question over which one of these drivers can take better advantage of the LMP3s coming through. If one of them gets in the middle of this battle or next to them during a corner, it can slow one of them up and really hurt or harm or increase this battle, depending upon your point of view here. In fact, it even puts a lot of people, you can put Aiden Young back in the catbird seat if something goes wrong.
The trouble for Robert McGeehan, unfortunately. Looks like he's already in trouble coming into Villeneuve, and then he's in even more trouble as he slams into the side of Will Jennings there and turns himself around.
Yeah, Will up on 2 wheels there. Got hit that hard. Got himself turned around and gathered there. So that was an unfortunate ride, kind of a surprise, probably in sim, to have your screen kind of turn 45 degrees. That'd be a scary VR ride right there.
It would. Back to Arnaud, though. I've been doing some looking on the other side of my screen. I'm trying to figure out when Arnaud's last win in the PRL actually was. He won many races in the Radical series a couple of seasons ago, but that was an unbroadcasted series. That was just sort of a fun experience for drivers who wanted to test out the Radical. This could be his first broadcasted PRL win since about 2022. It may have been almost a full 2 years since he did it in the old IMSA series in 2022 Season 2. Could be a big day. Could be a very big day for Arnaud-Genet if he can get this done. Don't want to curse him, Derek. I absolutely don't want to commentators curse him, but he did just have a bad exit through Aqua Minerale, so maybe I should calm down a little bit.
Yeah, maybe a little early on the first win, first recent win call there, but all these three drivers really staying within touch. Everyone kind of being patient. You know, it makes me wonder, you know, what Aiden Young did on pit road or didn't do that got him that little extra, you know, time. It makes me wonder if just the fact he led the whole first, you know, stint, he burns more fuel, if maybe he's had to take more fuel on pit road, and that's what put him in this spot. But right now, all three of them in touch here. But man, that gap is slowly increasing between Janae and Aiden Young for second and third.
David Duino, your overall race leaders down pit lane. Don't really need to look at that because he has been in dominant control of this race essentially since the drop of the green flag. Christian Garatone comes in behind him, but unless there's something terribly wrong for Duino, he's going to win this race. Something did go terribly wrong for Doug Evans. A little bit of a climb of the curb through Villeneuve and a smack into the green wall.
Doug had a really impressive week last week on Wednesday nights in PRL.
Here comes Arnaud. Here comes Arnaud Genet for the lead in GT4, Derek, to the inside of Villeneuve. Can he be late enough on the brakes? He's still side by side. A little bit of a bumper to the back of Brockway, and just like his teammate did, he turns Brockway around. He does the sportsman-like thing and waits for Brockway to turn it back around, but Aiden Young, he's got no reason to wait up. He's running away. 5 seconds now in the lead. Terrafino takes it away. Lowendick takes the third spot on the podium, and eventually Arnaud said, I'm not waiting for you anymore, Adam.
Wow, what a moment there. You can see just, I think a difference in speed through those corners of how Arnaud was just all over the back bumper of Brockway, and you just kind of saw it coming. You knew it suddenly had to come to a head eventually, and just eventually got him looped around there. Arnaud just did the right thing. You know, wanted to wait. Let's watch it live or back in the replay here.
He had the chance. He had to send it to the inside. He was equal on the brakes, but in the attempt at the switchback, little bit clumsy, little bit of a bonk. Brockway couldn't get on the acceleration, and Genet, maybe a little bit impatient, turns him around, and you'll see, Derek, in the background, Michael Terrafino comes through, Ted Lowendick comes through. Why not? Let's get a live reaction from Ted Lowendick. Ted, welcome to the podium. How did that happen?
I don't know.
We do know, actually. It was Arnaud and Adam Brockway. They came together, they took each other out, and now suddenly you've got a free podium.
Well, you think that, but I've got the ref catching up. I've got a trial in front of me. I don't know what's going on in the world.
You do have the guy who caused the incident behind you, so I hope that doesn't worry you too much.
Well, hopefully he doesn't play favorites, because he is a ref, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it was both of the PRL refs. Both Arnaud and Jerome got into accidents and turned somebody in the same corner today.
Oh my gosh.
Well, Ted, I wish you good luck. 8 minutes to go. You got the shark behind you. I can physically see him closing in the braking zone. I wish you good luck.
My heart rate's going up. It's fine.
I can't blame you. We'll send Ted back to his calm father figure here, Doug Evans. He's going to be in with a very stressful situation here, Derek, because he can actually fight for second. He could probably get by Terrafino if things go well. He does have Arnaud Genet behind him, though.
He does have Arnaud Genet behind him, so he's got that LMP that just passed him by, but that went pretty smooth here. So this is a nice battle here. Got the cow car. You got Ted, part of that, with the banana in front of his car. I didn't see it. And of course, the hockey ref. So 1, 2, well, not 1, 2, and 3, but 1, 2, 3 in that line at least. About 7.5 minutes to go. Wow, that really changed up things here, because Aiden Young now has a lot of breathing room, by the way, back here to this battle. This is Terrafino back here, and that's what, 6 seconds back to Aiden Young is what this is here. So that really changed that battle from being very close to not very close, and just a snap of a finger.
As producer Dustin Allis points out, we really should have seen this coming, because the team is called Beware Stewards Driving. I think it was meant to be beware of other drivers getting the penalties, but today, in an ironic twist, it's actually been them. And Arnaud is the lead driver steward of the PRL on the roadside. Unfortunately, he's going to have to recuse himself from that investigation, and poor old J.R. Williams, I think, will be investigating that and probably handing down a penalty to Arnaud coming into next week. But anyway, battle in LMP3 here. Corey Precker, activate the race spot soundboard, Derek. He's on a drive forward, and he's trying to get by Doug Sorrentino.
Yeah, and Sorrentino, by the way, got that car fixed in their pit, got a new front end on that car, so now it looks like a normal LMP3 again here as they're racing back here for position. Look a little closer when you get to that GT4, but look at that. Did a great job navigating there, and that's going to cause maybe a bit more of a gap between himself and Corey Precker.
Things are getting close again, though. I'm getting flashbacks, Derek. Genet versus Lowendick through the corner where it all happened. Ted does hang on. He does survive, but Arnaud is all over the back of that banana McLaren. Trying to make it happen around the outside at Tosa isn't going to happen, but do I dare say it's a foregone conclusion? Is Arnaud that much faster than Ted that he'll definitely be able to make this move? It's realistic to say he'll make the pass, but there are only 5 minutes to go, and it's always tough to actually make it happen at Imola.
Well, it also makes me wonder if Arnaud will be just a little bit more cautious, a little bit more timid, in his driving after what just happened a moment ago with Brockhorst. Now I wonder if Arnaud will be a little more timid about making the pass and doesn't want to get caught up in the same incident twice. So we'll see if he's even willing to kind of step out and be aggressive.
Chase Wilson gets in the middle of the GT4 battle, gets stuck behind Michael Terrafino through the Variante Alta. Does get through, though, no harm, no foul, and if anything, may have actually helped Terrafino there a little bit with the buffer between him and Ted. Coming down into Rivazza, though, it's an interesting battle. It's Porsche versus McLaren, not the two favored cars in this field whatsoever. It's Eric Leroy, not in a favored car either. He's had some trouble on the exit of the chicane as well, trying to get things back going, but one of the Rob Clark crew drivers gets to his inside down into Rivazza. This is how it all happened. Too much speed through the chicane and another trip to the wall.
All we are is just another trip to the wall, as the words could say to that song, but really got it up pretty smoothly overall. I thought he was going to hit it way harder than he did. But man, it's got that Serentino over his back end. Who is that?
That's Nick Taylor. Nick Taylor going all over it. Adam Ostrich, a bystander who very much didn't want to be a part of this, but Nick Taylor does get through. Leroy slots in behind. A huge drift eventually gets him pointed straight again. But wow, that was a crazy final sector. And a crazy first sector, for that matter, for Eric Leroy. He needs a couple of moments to calm down, I think. But we don't get to calm down. Arnaud Genet to the outside of Ted Lowendick. Laws of physics, though, say he can't make it around the outside of a non-banked corner there. He's got to wait for another opportunity.
Yeah, we'll wait and see what happens. They come around the track here. Only about a little less than 4 minutes to go. So if you're going to make something happen, you're running out of time to make it happen with that machine you have in your hands. You just got to have to throw it in there and see what happens.
Cade Smith in a little bit of trouble. You see him here at the back of the field. Not been the best day for Cade, unfortunately. Strong qualifying as always, but some hard luck for him, some hard hits, and unfortunately, he adds a slowdown to the list of misfortune he's had today.
Yeah, it's unfortunate when it happens to you. That's been a hot topic amongst the drivers as well, as how someone were unhappy with the slowdowns that are being handed out, but that's handed out by iRacing. That's an arbitrary number the admins have nothing to do with. You can't control it. The admins simply say, hey, if you don't like the slowdowns, you don't get them. It's kind of the response that they're getting right now. But, man, it's still tight. Man, we are, 33 minutes into this race. And so for some of these guys, we're like 3 minutes into the race.
Do you see that half wheelie from Eric Leroy there coming through Rivazza?
Scary.
Almost flipped. He almost flipped an LMP3 car. That was terrifying, and it was especially terrifying for Ted Lowendick, I'm sure, as he was splitting the GT4s.
And I'm pretty sure that would be a first for me to see a flipped LMP3. I don't think I've seen that yet in iRacing. But
yeah, he was up many degrees, and splitting the difference. Some more LMP3 trouble at the bottom of your screen. But here's Eric Leroy. Tony Hawk would be proud. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and you know what? The funny thing is with the way you sit in the LMP3s, he was actually going to kind of tilt over on the driver's side of that vehicle, which is different. The driver weight would have helped bring that car over, I think.
Yeah, Arnaud, though, better exit from him through Tosa. He's got a nose to the inside of Ted Lowendick, but it's not enough to the inside to actually make it happen into turn 10. He is forced to slot in line, but this is very high pressure. Terrafino's feeling the pressure as well as he throws it off the road through turn 10. It'll be an off track for him. Won't be a slowdown, though. He can keep going, but there's only going to be one more lap to go at the line, Derek. If Arnaud Genet is going to make this move happen, he doesn't have many more actual braking zones to do it.
No, he's not going to have many more. He's going to have to make something happen here. And, of course, now he's got an LMP3 behind him who's going to want to get through and sort of complicate the matter. So that won't help anything. I think Arnaud's best bet would be if Terrafino kind of bobbles the car and makes Ted check up. Otherwise, I think Ted will be able to hold onto the spot, short of something like a drastic dive bomb.
There could be a drastic dive bomb from one of the more Adness LMP3s. They do think better of it, though, and some conservativeness from David Steveson, I think, is going to be very welcomed by Ted Lowendick, as there goes Steveson getting by on the straight, very calmly, and not slowing down Ted whatsoever. If anything, he's actually within touching distance of Terrafino now into turn 1. Straight line speed of that McLaren, very, very effective for Ted. Maybe a little bit too far back for a legitimate attempt at a move, but he makes that banana visible. He shows it to the inside of turn 1. Can't make it happen, though, as this will actually be the penultimate lap for them. With where David Duino is on track, these guys will actually get one more lap at the line.
Yep, they will get one more. Indeed, LMP3 is going to cut to the inside of Lowendick and Terrafino right there and get the pass done easily. But now that Lowendick has opened that gap up, he's got to be able to kind of let out a small sigh of relief. Here is your overall leader. That is David Duino taking the white flag, Joey.
Indeed, one more time around Imola for Duino. We've said his name basically once today, and that's probably a good thing. It was a very quiet race for Duino, in a race that was full of chaos. And that's definitely a good way to follow up on his win from last week. Corey Precker to the inside of Doug Sorrentino, into the chicane, gets it done pretty straightforwardly, and that's Corey up into P8, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is where he qualified.
Yeah, so once Drescher sort of, got, I guess, wrecked himself or spun out on the back end of Duino just sort of checked out of this race, and Vincent LaRue tried his best, but could not get there. Here's Cade Smith, and I think Branch is going to get, this is live right here. Sorry, I thought it was going to replay. This is live as it's happening. They're battling, Joey, trying to get a spot from each other.
Yeah, battling for unlucky 13th. They've had basically the same race, just in opposite directions. Branch up 8 spots, Smith down 7 spots. And they've met in the middle in the most exciting fashion. Adam Brockway and Floyd Kerr, though, 2 drivers who finished on the podium last week, they're going to fight for P8, as Michael Terrafino takes the white flag to fight for 2nd with Ted Lowendick. Aiden Young took the white flag a couple of miles away. We'll see him in a couple of minutes' time when he finishes this race. But as I said, David Duino, a quiet day, a calm day, and a very, very calculated day for a driver who's mastered this LMP3 car. He's mastered multi-class racing, and for the 2nd week in a row, he is going to be totally dominant. Double D, David Duino, wins yet again in the PRL. That's win number 3 for him in his career, and probably the most dominant one he's had yet. Give a shout out to Vincent LaRue, though, about 12 seconds behind. He will finish 2nd today. After starting 2nd, it's a strong day, but he's going to be thinking what might have been, if not for a few incidents, if not for a slightly slower final stint. Could he have stuck with David Duino for the race length? He's going to have to wait until next week to find an answer to that question.
Yep, so we'll finish off here in our GT4 category. There's Terrafino and Lowendick still battling here this last lap of the race here. See a couple still shots of the battle here as the lap goes on. And we're going to have it going live. Here we go, back onto the battle. You see Terrafino flashing his headlights at I don't know what.
Oh, yeah, what's going on with Terrafino? He pulls off over to the side as Ted Lowendick gets by him. Was there a potential slowdown there that we didn't get to see? That was unfortunate for Michael Terrafino. He is going to get going again, but he lost the spot to Lowendick. He lost the spot to Arnaud Genet. Unfortunately, our friends at Spectrum Internet mean that we don't actually get to see why that happened, but I'm sure we'll be able to review that at the end of the race. But out of the final corner, Aiden Young, speaking of dominant drives, it's not one he expected. He was in 3rd coming out of the pits, but Brockway and Genet tripped over each other, and Aiden Young was there to take the spoils. 3 wins in 4 races now for Aiden Young, and he's going to take the championship lead in GT4.
That's a great finish. Great job for Aiden Young. It's unexpected for him. I can't confirm, by the way, Terrafino did have a slowdown right before our cameras went back, and so that's what allowed Lowendick to get ahead there and grab a P2.
Heartbreak for Terrafino. Was it by his own doing, or was Ted involved?
It was by his own. No, it was by his own doing. He just got super wide. I would debate he didn't really gain any time, but of course me and iRacing have a different definition of gaining time when going off course. But no, he went off course and was racing a little hard, trying to keep Ted behind him, I think.
Well, that'll be the end of our action from LMP3-GT4, and it was a lot of action, even by this series standards. That was an absolute thriller. Even if it wasn't an absolute thriller up front, as David Duino was essentially the winner from lap 1, and he comes home with a 12-second margin and his 3rd win in the PRL. Vincent Leroux, second from second, still one of his best races he's ever had, and Christian Garatone on the podium. Quiet day for him as well. He'll be happy with 3rd, though. Chase Wilson, a good drive forward from him to finish P4, and Calvin Myatt, top 5 from him. Excellent day for the Rob Clark Team Red driver. Taylor, P6. Eric Leroy fell back to P7 after an incident with Jason Drescher. Then Corey Precker up 2 spots, actually. He started 10th, so got to give him a little bit more credit. And then DS, Doug Sorrentino, David Steveson round out the top 10. And in P11, Ian Starker and Jason Drescher directly behind him. Not a great day for team's championship leaders Grant Scarage and championship leader Jason Drescher, for that matter. Matt Dinsmore behind them was the last driver on the lead lap. Poor old Samuel Ma ran into some early trouble. He ended up 1 lap down. And Mikey Smith, we hardly knew ye, unfortunately, 18 laps down. Very early trouble for him. Means the number 15 finishes P15. Aiden Young, though, victorious in the Mercedes, and he's going to be, I think, a very good interview today. After slotting through the middle, after Genet and Brockway came together, Aiden Young was there to pick up the pieces. Ted Lowendick was there to pick up the pieces as well. It looked like it was going to be a P5 finish for him, and somehow it's a P2. He's going to be very happy about that. And Arnaud Genet does get to come home P3 at the end of that all, but it could have been a win. And unfortunately, he may have some penalty points coming his way. Michael Terrafino, a P4, and Turner Schroll, good drive from him, drove forward and ends up in the top 5. Adam Ostrich, fairly quiet day from the Miracle Flow driver, puts him P6. Kalen Tobin, great drive forward for him as well, P7. Adam Brockway is going to be mad at the win lost. He's P8. Floyd Kerr, a little bit of an incident with his fellow Kerr in the early laps. That'll be reviewed as well. I don't necessarily know if it was Floyd's fault. He finishes P9 ahead of Jerome Berthiaume to round out the top 10. P11 was Nathan Deering, last driver technically on the lead lap, with how everybody took the white flag in respect to the LMP3 cars. William Brennan was right behind him. Jordan Branch and Cade Smith seemingly battled all day long in their inverted races. Barry Sessoms and Dan Willis, the 2 more Adness drivers, 15th and 16th. Nathan Jennings, Michael Doyle, Will Jennings, and Travis Pruitt all had assorted amounts of trouble down to the end of the top 20. Robert McGeehan and Doug Evans were 1 lap and 1 lap down respectively as well. And Dean Kerr, as I mentioned, 3 laps down, unfortunately for him, after a very, very dramatic race for the number 84. But it is interview time, as always, and we're going to have, I think, some of the happiest drivers we've ever had. But the first driver we get to talk to is a driver who's probably going to be feeling pretty chilled, because it was never really in question, David Duino, if you were going to win this race or not. Started from pole, started running away early, and a 12-second margin at the end of it all. How'd you do it again?
Not really sure, honestly. I didn't feel too comfortable with my setup, so it's kind of going to be an interesting race. I haven't looked back to see what happened to Jason there at lap 3, I think it was. Something I want to go look at. I'm not sure if I ran a little wide, if he got a little tight. I don't know what happened, but it was a good race. I want to thank all my guys over at Hydra-Race Geodesic. They made this all possible because that setup was amazing that they made. Thank my girlfriend as well, because she's always supportive, and the Geodesic super fan of Mark Young, if he's watching.
Shout out to Mark Young. I'll give him a shout out too. I have to ask though, Duino, is that an Italian last name? Where does that come from?
Very much so. Very, very Italian last name.
So it was only fitting, I think, that you were going to win here. It was destiny.
I'm actually probably going to go by this track in a couple weeks. I'm going to Italy, so it's actually on my list to go see. So.
Well, there you go. I hope you enjoy it just as much as you did today. Congrats on your 2nd win this season, and we'll see you next week.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
David Duino, victorious once again. But victorious once again in GT4. I think this is the 3rd week in a row. They're going to be making fast friends. Aiden Young and Derek Watson back together again.
Aiden, I think we've had this conversation before, haven't we? You're victorious again in GT4s. This was a little different, though. You sort of benefited from a little bit of calamity in the field.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I was just talking with Arnaud and Adam, and they said they said it was just a simple misunderstanding there. So I from my perspective, I just saw them get together and then spin. So I was like, oh, well, that kind of helps me. But then after the race, when I went back and looked at it, kind of looked like they got a little bit together. Don't know whether it was netcode though, because I can't really see it. I just see it happen, and then in the middle of the race, my head's like, oh, that's good for me. But at the same time, I feel bad for them because I wanted to have a good battle with them, and that I tried to set up a nasty cutback on them, but then they got together and spun it. I was like, no, that would have been so good.
Yeah, it would have been so good indeed. Well, next week we go to a pretty tight track. We go to a track really intended for motorcycles, for a lot of racing for Motorland Aragon. What are you expecting to see at that track?
I'm not quite sure. I don't really like Aragon. It's never really been the best with me, but I'm still gonna give it my best shot. You know, better to do the happier I am. But I think it'd be fun in the GT4 cars, and the faster cars it's a bit tricky because it's so tight. I think it may suit the GT4, so I may have a lot more fun, but we'll see. Hopefully I can just get a decent result there and kind of get over my bad luck at that track.
Well, listen, great run tonight, and we'll see if you can do it for the 4th time next week.
Thank you. See you next week.
All right, that's Aiden Young, winner in the GT4 class.
Keep the old PRL zipper going as we go back up to LMP3, and I think I'll take the chance to talk to Vincent LaRue this week. I haven't gotten the chance to do that yet this season. Vincent, P2, from a start of P2, talk us through the day, and what more do you think you needed to do to keep close to David Duino? Vincent LaRue, do we have a copy?
Oh, no.
We got some technical issues with Vincent. We'll let him figure that out. Might get a chance to talk to him a little bit afterwards. But why don't we go back down to GT4 for that matter? Because we just talked to this guy about 5 minutes ago, Mr. Ted Lowendick. You ended up P2 somehow. How did that happen?
I don't know. Arnaud, I don't know, was a bowling ball instead of a referee. Terrafino got moved out of the way on the last lap. And yeah, here we are, P2, eating some Nerds Clusters. So
nice.
It's a good time.
I'm gonna break the fourth wall here and explicitly ask producer Dustin Ellis, do we have Ted's camera? Can we see these Nerds Clusters?
Oh.
Did you turn on your camera, Ted? Do you know?
I did turn it on, but it was late.
It was activated?
Weird stuff. It was.
Yes, there it is. Excellent.
So
there
like
he is.
little...
Yeah, those are great. Crunchy and chewy simultaneously.
Very sweet.
You got the salmon shirt today and the blue. You're like matching the Nerds Clusters.
Yeah, I just felt nerdy today, I guess.
There you go. That's every day. But that's the reason you won.
That's true.
Or no, you didn't win. You finished second. It was a win for you, though. It was a win for you. So congrats on second. Good job.
Well,
and we'll see you next week.
Sounds good. Hopefully the next series is as enjoyable as this one was.
Theodore Lowendick coming home P2 and probably not going to bed for about 5 hours after eating all those Nerds Clusters. But that's Ted. Let's try to go back up to LMP3. I think this was a conspiracy, Derek, just to get Vincent LaRue to talk to you instead.
Vincent, you alive?
Yeah, I'm there.
There you are. There's the working microphone. Well, I'm going to ask first off, you ran your first night in the new color. Are you superstitious? Are you sticking with it? Is that how this works?
I think so, yeah. Maybe it was a bit, the yellow wasn't good for me and the purple fits me well.
Well, listen, overall this season, you've done fairly well. I mean, compared to the last season, even you would admit this is a much better season so far. You just barely missed out on a pole today. Another podium.
Yeah.
What's the outlook for the rest of the season for you?
I think last season was my first season in the LMP3. And now this season is pretty much better for me. I'm comfortable with the car and I understand it well. So I think I'm ready to challenge the top 3 with David and Jason.
All right, well, listen, I'm proud of you. Great job tonight in the purple machine. And
Thank you.
We'll see you next week at Motorland Aragon.
Yes, thank you a lot.
Vincent LaRue, from one French Canadian to one more French Canadian. We will get a quick chat with Arnaud Genet in here. Arnaud, you did round off the podium, but it was potentially a win. Talk us through what happened from the cockpit of your Porsche.
Yeah, it was a very good battle. The draft pulled me closer to Adam after I jumped Aiden in the pits, and yeah, so I just waited a couple of laps just to analyze what Adam was doing. Figured that I had better lines in the first sector. Yeah, and I thought I gave him enough space. I'm very sorry for the contact. I mean, I was on the outside trying to do the switchback, hit his bumper. At first, I thought he could have saved it, but yeah, he had to step on the brakes to catch the car, and then had the second contact, and then he was spun around basically by me. So I tried to wait. I tried to wait a little bit, but yeah, he had to do like a 16-point turn at some point to restart. Unfortunately, I'm laughing, but it's not. I would be very frustrating if I was him. So yeah, I'm very sorry for the contact. It was a good battle, and hope to put a good show next week.
If it's any solace for you, though, Arnaud, at least you don't have to do the stewards review on that one.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I said to Teddy a couple of minutes back. Just said that I might have to do a video on myself this week. But yeah, we have a separate team to manage those, so that yeah, to avoid any problems and any
No conflicts of interest here, but Arnaud,
correct.
I'll look forward to the week off, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Arnaud Genet. We'll see him in 6 days or 7 days or something like that. But we'll see some LMP2s and GTPs in just a matter of moments, because that's coming up immediately next. Immediately next for this series that will be Aragon next week. And now it is Long Beach time. We're going to make sure to keep ourselves under that clearance, lower your heads a little bit, make sure the tops of your trucks aren't sticking out, because we're going under the bridges, we're going between the concrete walls, and we're taking on Long Beach in the GTP LMP2 series. This has been circled all season long, Derek. This is the race of the season that we're all looking forward to. It's a good calendar all the way through, top-level sports car racing tracks all the way around, but this is the most exciting one. This is the crown jewel.
And I think the reason it's exciting is it sort of mimics, some of those oval tracks like a Daytona or a Talladega, where it's survival tonight. If you survive Long Beach and you finish well, you'll have a good points run. I mean, the rest of the tracks here, Mugello, Spa, Laguna Seca, the Indy Road Course, we're going to finish at Misano. Those are, I guess I use the words, a normal racetrack for the most part. This tonight, I believe, is survival of the fittest.
The fittest so far this season.
Or luckiest.
Should I even say this so far? Sean Campbell has won all 3 races so far. I didn't even need to tell you that. That was pretty obvious. But Sean is your championship leader, not by an insurmountable amount. Michael Diaz only 27 points behind, which is kind of impressive in its own right. If things go terribly wrong for Sean Campbell, as I say that, he's just put it to P1 in qualifying, so they might not, but anyway, we'll see. Nathan Ray, P3, trying to keep his top 3 hopes alive as well. Schwartz, Bergstrom round out the top 5. Evans and Holly will be battling with them, the 2 Whataback drivers. Kwok Nin had an excellent race last week. Daniel Zeggers did as well, and Nathan Olson rounds out the top 10. In the team's championship, as I always mention, Sean Campbell has no teammates. He's a lonely boy at Race Clutch, so he's not going to be winning the team's championship solo. It's going to be a Whataback, Moradness, PRE battle. A bad start to the season for PRE. They've had some races where not all their drivers showed up. They've had some races where not all their drivers performed very well. They're going to be looking forward for the rest of the season, but Pat Pelsha is back this week. Nathan Bartley's back this week. Those will be good points for them, as they need to make up some points on Moradness and on Whataback for that matter to have any hope of keeping those championship hopes alive. In LMP2, it's very competitive. Defending champion Jack Hedgecox, the champion of the last 2 seasons in LMP2, has had an up and down start to the season. He's down at P9, while Lord Rob Campbell, the official title holder of a very small plot of land in Scotland, is your championship leader somehow, ahead of Alex Caruso, who won his first race last week. Andrew Wood on pure consistency as well. Somehow Mr. Wood is in the top 3 in the championship, right ahead of John Lee, right ahead of Chip Michaels. It's a little bit crazy in LMP2. It's been up for some drivers in some races. It's been up for some other drivers in some of the others. You can see Alex Crow, who was almost a winner a couple of weeks ago at Imola, not even in the top 10. It's been absolute craziness in LMP2. We have no championship favorites just yet in the driver standings. In the team standings, we don't really have any favorites either, as look at that spread. Lunatic, Dunder Mifflin, Goen, Hyperion, SRT, all those guys can win the team's championship, and all of them are separated by only 50 points. We're in for an absolute treat in the team's championship in LMP2, and I'm very glad that I don't have to do any of the calculations or any of the math to calculate that. But now that we've got the bookkeeping out of the way, we do get to take you to qualifying. About 3.5 minutes left to go, and no surprise, Derek, Sean Campbell up on pole by 2.5 tenths.
Yeah, no surprise at all, but Pelshot's trying to make a run at it. It's about 1/4 second behind, and then down in the LMP2's Jack Hedgecox, no surprise there. up on the pole, and that camera shook there for a second. And then you got now Alex Caruso just popped up in the P2, about 0.3 of a second behind him here. We're seeing a car on track. Look how tight these corners are. This is Josh Gowan here in that number 8 machine. And this is the LMP2. Just how tight these corners are. There's really no moment where you're not, you know, just in danger of hitting a wall. And we see that every time the IndyCar races here in real life.
And we also had the IMSA race here on Saturday, so very fresh in the minds for all these drivers, seeing sports cars take this place on. Josh Gowan picks up 3 spots. He's up to P15. You saw Joshua Chinsky picking up some time as well. He's up to P5. Jack Hedgecox, I think, trying to go around for one more lap. It's going to be close with the clock if he's able to make it around again, but he does have one more lap in his system, I think, and he might need it because Alex Caruso has another lap as well. He's a very fast driver. He started from pole last week, if I'm not mistaken, and out of the hairpin, full throttle to the line in the Hyperion number 89. Can Alex Caruso steal it from Jack Hedgecox? It's a race against the clock, full throttle. Is he going to be able to do it? Is it in the 111s? It is. It's not in the 110s, though. It's still going to be P2.
It's close. He did improve on the time here. And you know, Joey, one of the keys to this track that's different than the other tracks I think we're going to race at on this schedule, at least most of them at least, is you have to be super patient with the throttle here. Whether it's a corner like that, where if you get on the throttle too soon, you'll track wide. Whether it's one of the last corners where you'll just spin the car around because of how slow the corner is. Patience with the throttle is so important here. It's so different. You almost don't want to go that fast around this racetrack.
Jack Hedgecox won the first round of the season. It looked like it was going to be a dominant championship for him. Then had a DNF, a very early DNF in the rain the next week. Finished second last week, and he's on the clock now. He will get one more lap in here. Only about 1:11 to complete a lap in an LMP2 car around here, so he does have the time on the clock. He doesn't necessarily need it. He's probably going to start on pole anyway, and he was already a little bit deep and wide into turn 1 there. I'm not sure if this is going to be an improvement, but let's ride on board with Jack Hedgecox as he does try to improve.
And you mentioned that last week was a P2 for Hedgecox. That was a really run he had to make from the back of the field after a first lap or a second lap incident. So he really showed off his muscles last week here. But look at him driving this course. Oh man, that must be the end of the lap there. Got scared there for a second.
Yeah, I think he realized that he essentially screwed up every corner in the first sector and said, it's not worth it. I'm not even going to finish this one. I'm coming back to the pits. Craig Bray, though, is on a legitimate lap, the Moradness car with the purple highlights. Remember that when you remember Craig Bray. Out of the hairpin, though, it's always awkward getting back on the throttle and letting the steering wheel unspool there. It never looks right. Craig Bray, though, across the line, picks up half a second. Excellent improvement from him, and it's going to improve him. 3 spots up. He's up to P16.
Yeah, and what a beautiful road course, street course this is. There's that fountain, the iconic Long Beach fountain we all talk about. I mean, this really is just a beautiful, beautiful racetrack. I mean, there's a few, street courses we don't have in iRacing yet, Joey. I admire this one, and I'm happy we have access to it.
Always fun coming to Long Beach. Will the race be fun? The answer is obviously yes. We're going to have lots of chaos, lots of drama, and it'll all be led by a driver who is not necessarily synonymous with chaos and drama. Sean Campbell is going to be looking for a quiet run to the finish. The rest of the field going to be looking to knock him off the top as the number 26 starts from pole for the 26th time in the PRL. He'll start alongside defending champion Pat Pelshaw. Nathan Bartley is back with us in the Porsche, thought to be one of the favored cars here in the field. The Acura has been a little bit slower at Long Beach so far this week, despite the fact that 5 out of the cars in the top 6 are Acuras. Daniel Zegers is one of those Acuras, almost equal on lap time with his teammate Bartley. Boris Ovando starts P5, and Dayton Lowe rounds out the top 6. Boris Ovando also coming off his run in VCO Infinity just a couple of days ago. Bradley Holly will start P7 alongside one of the new favorite drivers of the chat, Mr. John Rice. Then Nikos Sanadakis and Kwok Nin round out the top 10 in the 2 Vaporworks cars. Darian Roy, another Porsche P11, starts alongside Nathan Ray, a little bit deeper in the field than the 3rd place championship driver would hope. Jeff Evans, unlucky 13th for him. Karsten Quinton, P14. Nicholas Schwartz, P15. And Johnny Luna, P16, rounding out the GTP field. Kind of a surprise to see those guys as far back as they are. Bradley Holly, lead qualifier for Whataback. But in LMP2, Jack Hedgecox on pole yet again. Is this the start of getting his championship back on track? He certainly hopes so, but Alex Caruso He's looking to make sure he holds on to the championship lead after winning last week, but also getting a 15-point penalty. Alex Crowe starts P3 alongside Jeremy Carter. Neither of those guys have ever won in the PRL. Caleb Lehman and Joshua Chinsky, differentiable liveries, look at that, starting alongside each other for SRT. Luke Wallace in the white SRT car starts P7 alongside Mr. Rob Campbell in the slightly magenta-er number 93. Tyler Pierre Richards, his teammate, is in the pinker version, I think we can say. Those are going to be hard to differentiate, but we'll try and figure it out. Chip Michaels, P10. Eddie Layton and John Leedy round out the top dozen. Then unlucky 13th went to Josh Goen, who starts alongside Dino Vella. Matthew Carroll and Craig Bray, row 8. Nathan Mon and Andrew Wood, the two Goen Racing Ruby drivers, row 9. Anthony Dring and John Krauser round out the top 20. Jeff Fleischman was P21 for the Moradness M squad. And Terrence Griffin, no lap on the board, but he will be with us on the grid starting from 22nd and last in LMP2. But the pace car pulling down pit lane already. It is a very, very short pace lap, single file, trying to get things sorted better than IndyCar did this weekend. And they have. Sean Campbell in control of the field, takes the green flag, but it's a very condensed start. Pat Pelshaw is actually alongside him, coming down the front straight, and Pelshaw's going for the lead early into turn 1. Who could be later on the brakes? Can Pelshaw do what Will Power did in the IndyCar race and make it work around the outside? No, he can't. He's forced to slot in line behind Sean Campbell. 1, 2, 3. Campbell, Pelshaw, and Bartley down to 4th. In LMP2, though, they've taken the green flag themselves. A much more clean start and a much more single file start as Jack Hedgecox leads the field into turn 1 for the first time.
Well, all clear throughout the fountain for the GTPs, the LMPHs, whatever you want to call them. Now the LMP2s get their run along. There's a car in the wall, but all things considered, that's going to be okay. That was Chinsky, by the way, I do believe, in the wall there.
And the black SRT car in trouble. Hopefully everybody was able to get around him. It's always an awkward spot when you have a crash in the S's like that. Daniel Zeggers up to P3, by the way. He was the driver who got by Nathan Bartley into turn 1. But very clean stuff. And unfortunately, Pat Pelshaw may have needed that opportunity to pounce. Couldn't quite make it happen, though, around the outside of Campbell. Through the hairpin for the first time on the left side of your screen. A dive to the inside. That's Nikos Sanadakis trying to get by Darian Roy. Scuppers his exit, though. The tighter run to the outside does not work out for Sanadakis. He's going to lose another spot to Nathan Ray and actually fall out of the top 11. Boris Ovando a little bit further back than he would have liked, falling 1 spot to Dayton Low. But it's hard to make a pass around here, Derek. Lap 1 was a big opportunity for all of these guys, and now it's real Long Beach action. Slotting in line, Kwok Nin into the wall in turn 1 very early.
Yeah, it's a 2 ways. Oh, man. Again into the wall. So it tells you that car was hard to drive after the first hit there. He'll tow it back. 2 ways you're going to make a pass here. One is going to be with at the help of traffic of the other class. The second is going to be who burns their tires out pretty early here and who has a hard time holding onto this car at about 10-15 minutes, and then who can have that long run speed and see able to maybe navigate a corner better. But let's watch a replay here. This is going to be Kwok Nin. Oh, there's the right side. An equal opportunity in a moment, Joey. He's going to hit the left side. This way it's all even.
Got absolutely quacked into turn 1, and then, yeah, there was no steering that car. That was a boat, essentially, going straight on. Bad luck for Kwok Nin after one of his best races ever in the PRL, P4 last week. Not going to quite go his way this week, though. Back to Mr. John Rice. Make the chat very happy that we see him trying to hound Bradley Holly. 2 guys from very different career paths, as Nathan Bartley is the next driver to be a victim of turn 1. Probably did exactly the same thing as Kwok Nin, driver who won his first race in the PRL last season on a sort of a street course at Montreal. Probably had a lot of hope in that Porsche tonight. Unfortunately, all that hope is over.
Man, it's got way too fast in that corner and wasn't able to hold onto that car and slammed the wall there. First with the side of the car, still a little different than Kwok, but still the same result. Regardless, we're back to live racing here. We're going to see some cars now really in these tight spaces and kind of making things happen here. Joey, the one thing about this track is it won't be long before lap traffic starts to play a factor for the GTP class.
Yeah, lap traffic not going to be a factor because of the speed of the cars, because the GTP is only about a second a lap faster than the LMP2s, but because of the separation and stratification of the field, Derek is exactly right, that the back of the LMP2 field was physically so much further back from the lead of the GTP field at the start of the race that they will be caught before too long, and probably making Sean Campbell's life very difficult because of that lack of speed difference. Alex Crow and Caleb Lehman side by side into the hairpin. That's not normally a place where you can actually make a pass, but Caleb Lehman was able to, and now his teammate Luke Wallace is trying to take advantage down the front stretch.
And something we don't see a lot there, Crow did not hit anything. He was just slow there. He was kind of checking up to make sure he didn't. Typically when you see a car slow right there, you're going to think they hit something or that they're damaged. I think Crow just sort of got out of it and wanted to let Lehman play. Ooh, man.
Wallace literally almost getting pit maneuvered into the concrete wall on the exit of turn 1 and somehow keeping that car pointed straight. Eddie Layton not quite so lucky. Onto the scene into turn 1 and likely very damaged. Andrew Wood trying to come through and a couple of others just trying to make sure they don't get involved in any more trouble. Oh, wow, that Alex Crow Luke Wallace replay, that's gonna be very exciting as they'll see what happened to Eddie Layton first. Not the most exciting incident, and I tell you what, Derek, he did not hit a thing, which is impossible in a Long Beach crash. How did he do that?
Yeah, that we should put that, like, and make a clip of that, because doing the impossible. Achievement unlocked right there for Eddie Layton, and not hitting anything while spinning out at Long Beach.
Almost just hit something there, coming down the back stretch. Andrew Wood gets by him after a little bit of a bobble in turn 8, but again, didn't hit anything. Probably a little bit rattled right now, but gotta focus in, get back in the rhythm, and make sure you finish this race, because it's still very early days in this race, Derek. It has literally only been 5 minutes of racing so far. You've got to keep it out of the walls for 40 more minutes, and that's exceptionally difficult. That's why Long Beach is always a race of attrition.
It really is, you know, and there's always a conversation I love to have with friends about, you know, racetracks and what's more challenging. A place like Long Beach where you don't have any time to breathe, there's always a corner coming, there's no downtime, or a bigger track like a Spa or a Nürburgring where you can kind of doze off and almost forget what corner you're in and make a mistake that way. And a lot of drivers tell me that despite it being a shorter track, this can be more challenging as a race car driver in a race than maybe racing at Nürburgring.
Looking out the back of Dino Vella's machine, he's got a Long Beach train behind him with Matthew Carroll and Mon and Bray and Dring. What a day to be a single-syllabled racing driver in this train. But not much going on there except all the way at the back with Anthony Dring looking to make a move on Craig Bray. Those white pixels at the back of your screen, a little bit indecisive, but he does get to the inside into turn 1, into turn 9 rather, side by side, and book Anthony Dring up 1 spot.
That's a brave move by Dring right there. And those are the moves you have to make in this race to pass someone, but they're always scary from a commentator or a spectator point of view, because anytime you're too wide in any corner at Long Beach, it's not space available. Watch this again here. Dring's just going to cut it in, brake late, get up on those curbs, and survived.
Good stuff. Ooh, side by side to turn 1, and very much more than side by side. Huge incident. Matthew Carroll, the 133 going around. Dino Vella immediately tows it back to pit lane. That had the possibility of being a full field blocker, Derek. Luckily, both drivers able to tow it back, but that was big.
Yeah, that was about as close as you're going to get to the potential of a full field blocker without being one. Watch it again here. Watch this car in the front of your screen is going to come through and hit that wall and bounce back. And wow.
Yeah, it's times like that when we remember that tires, unfortunately, are made of rubber, so they soften your blow a little bit, but they do send you back into traffic. They spring you back. And poor old Matthew Carroll, absolutely nothing he could have done there. Terrible luck for him. The battle for the podium is on, though. Daniel Zegers trying to hang on, but he's got a very hungry Dayton Lowe behind him, and he's got a very hungry Boris Ovando behind him, for that matter. As I mentioned, Boris, one of the 5 teammates for Precision Racing Esports who competed in VCO Infinity over the weekend. That was 24 hours of racing separated across 5 drivers. He is... I think he's very much in the business of racing in the last couple of days, and he's ready. Dayton Lowe, rather, was even more ready. He was even more eager, and he managed to sniff the inside of Daniel Zegers' rear end.
Yeah, he knows how much gas up in that car, doesn't he? He's right there, ready to take a peek. Of course, the unique thing about that race you mentioned for the VCO, it was 24 hours at 24 races. It's not one race for 24 hours. It was all kinds of races. A couple of NASCAR races and some MX-5s, like a GR86 race, some GT3s. So it's 24 races in 24 hours. It was a pretty cool schedule I saw.
Yeah, I wish I could have been a part of it. Unfortunately, I had to miss that weekend, which is always a shame because VCO Infinity, one of the events I look forward to every year. But one day it'll happen again. Maybe again this year, maybe next year. We'll see. Back to the action though. For P5, Alex Crow, deeper in the order than he'd like. P5 is not the podium pace we've seen from him so far this season. He is trying to streak away from Rob Campbell and his teammate Tyler Pierre Richards, but it's a little bit of a lonely island because Luke Wallace, about 3 seconds up the road, is a distant point for Alex Crow to look forward at.
And look at them all up there on top of that curb, sort of right in the curb around that tight fountain there, and doing a pretty good job at it here. Now this is Alex Crow on the screen right here, up in P5, to sort of get that little parade lap behind him. You know, this is much more calm than your typical Monday through Friday Long Beach traffic, believe it or not.
Through turn 8 for Crow. You can see, I love this angle because it's essentially embedded in the concrete wall. You see how close they get to the wall on the exit of turn 8. You see how close they get on the entry to turn 9 as well. You can see the bump that can very frequently send drivers into the wall in the braking zone to turn 9. It's inches. It is absolute inches around this place, and you can physically see the drivers who are that little bit more comfortable, that little bit more locked in with the track, because they're using every inch. There's not gaps between them and the wall. There is maybe a slit of paper, maybe even a little bit of contact with the bodywork scraping against the wall at most times.
Yeah, it's already an interesting race. You know, you and I sort of joked about what if rain and, you know, all that. That would have made this race super interesting, because part of rain racing is about how you have to find different lines. That rubbered line will get wet and slick, and the paint gets slick. So if the rubber's slick and the paint is slick, where were they supposed to race here, Joey?
Bad news for John Rice fans, and I know there's a lot of them into turn 8, a little bit too wide, and meets the tire wall. Hard hit for him. And unfortunately, that's John Rice all the way back to the pits and probably done for the day, as that repair is going to take quite a while. His teammate, though, still alive. The fiercely forward driver, Dayton Lowe, has been looking fierce and has been looking forward. Unfortunately, Daniel Zeggers has made that Acura very wide so far, and Dayton hasn't had a chance to go for it just yet.
And you see a beautiful camera shot here from the back of the PRE machine. Very interesting perspective there. You can kind of just barely see like under the wing. That fiercely forward machine coming back here. You see just how much it's hard to separate yourselves here at this track, because you're always, you know, on the brake and slow and turning and twisting and doing the hokey pokey and everything else. And it's hard to really create separation between you and the cars behind you.
2 tenths, just too far back to actually go for a move. He needs to be side by side. I think that's essentially what he needs to do. He can't afford to exit the hairpin more than about a tenth and a half behind. He can't afford to exit turn 8 more than about a tenth and a half behind. But out of the hairpin this time, within about 2 tenths, he might get close enough to go for a very aggressive dive. But even that, even being this close, just isn't quite close enough at Long Beach to actually go for a move. And that's going to be very frustrating for Dayton, but also one of the things about Long Beach, Derek, is it's not necessarily the overtake you have to make, it's just the pressure you need to keep putting on to maybe force the driver in front into a mistake, and that's how you get a free pass.
And also making sure that when you put that pressure on, that you don't maybe pull a move we saw in our last race where you pressure a little too hard and you make the contact with that, right? You have to be aware of that. So I think Nathan Ray and Anthony Dream we saw on our screen a second ago. And now here's Caleb Lehman. After a little bit of pressure from Joey a couple weeks ago, Caleb came out with this new paint scheme. Makes him more recognizable, so thank you, Caleb Lehman, for that, or Caleb Lemon. Well, there's Caleb on the webcam.
Caleb Lemon's here. It's official. And I'm very happy that we have him back. I think that's the new Lego McLaren, the 80s McLaren F1 car behind him. I think he's got a new Lego for the collection.
I was looking at the football helmet up on the wall.
He's got that.
See the Lego set.
I thought that was a bowling ball. He's got the googly eyes on the VR, as always. As we know, that adds probably about a second or two of lap time. Caleb Lehman's actually very slow. He's almost incompetent as a driver, but when he puts those googly eyes on, suddenly he becomes one of the fastest drivers in an LMP2 car in the PRL. It's funny how that works.
Sorry, I was not ready for that. That's a good. I've not I think what gets me is that the googly eyes aren't even. I don't know if that bothers you as much as it bothers me, but
Dayton Lowe
on
finally
speed.
gets to the inside of Daniel Zeggers. Is he clear? I don't think he is. Zeggers is fighting back to the inside into turn 6, and he gets him back. Frustration for Dayton Lowe setting in. He was finally able to make the move. He finally got there, and suddenly the door is shut again, and he's got a face full of gray PRE yet again through turn 8.
So what Dayton Lowe might already be thinking, while it's not time to do so yet, he might be thinking about performing the undercut on a pit stop and trying to get around Zeggers that way. That might be the easiest way to pass here at Long Beach.
Boris Ovando got into some trouble on the last lap, maybe related to Dayton and Daniel going at it, into the hairpin. Wow, Boris thought about a move, thought about going for a dive, but kind of realized that wasn't actually going to work and ended up scraping the hairpin wall and losing all that time. But Dayton Lowe not able to do the undercut, as Daniel Zeggers has actually brought it down pit lane, and Boris Ovando going for the move in turn 1, can't get it done. Lowe hangs on to that, but as these two battle, Daniel Zeggers is in pit lane, and he's going to come out in clean air.
That's a little surprising just because of how early in the race it is for me. And obviously, the pit lane must be open, or pit window, pardon me, must be open for him, so he knows he can make it on fuel. But typically, we don't see a driver pits.
I think this is why he did it, Derek. Look who's coming up. The 502 and LMP2 car is coming up. John Krauser, and he's going to be very difficult to pass because remember that pace difference is only about a second. It's not going to be like LMP3 and GT4. This is going to be a difficult move to make, or at least it would if John Krauser wasn't so generous to Dayton Lowe. Does let him get by. Boris Ovando's not quite so lucky, and he's going to realize the frustration of getting stuck behind an LMP2 car.
Well, and where Dayton Lowe lucked out there, Joey, is if you could say there's a quote-unquote good part of a track to catch an LMP2, that was it. That long straight right there, that even that small speed difference will make a difference in getting around the LMP2. But right here, look at this. It's going to be incredibly hard for Zeggers now across all these corners to get around that LMP2.
Yeah, Daniel's plan to come out in clean air and avoid the traffic has actually gone worse because he's ended up in faster traffic in LMP2. These guys are going to be even more difficult to pass. Caleb Lehman and Luke Wallace running 3rd and 4th in LMP2. Neither of them are going to be easy. He does get by Luke Wallace somewhat straightforwardly into turn 9, but he's not going to have the same luck if he catches Caleb Lehman likely in the first sector where there's nowhere you can let a driver by. There's nowhere that Daniel Zeggers is going to be able to get by him if he catches him through the fountain section, through turns 3 and 4. He's going to be totally out of luck for about an entire sector here, unless he can get by him into turn 1. This is when he has to do it.
Yeah, right here is where he has to do it. He does it. And I think Lehman might have let him by.
Oh,
that looked pretty.
Well, he almost just let Lehman back by there, and he definitely did hit the wall. Look at the left side of the car. Is there any damage there? It looks fairly clean. Maybe a little bit of a dent on the very edge of that front main plane, but I think he did get away with it. But that was very close.
Caleb Lehman wasn't happy with that, by the way, about how scared he was. You saw him flash the headlights there from that camera shot we had, so Lehman letting him know he did not appreciate getting checked up that hard due to a wall hit. But now Zeggers will start to pull away here down this straight. This would be the optimal spot to catch an LMP2, but not all is going to happen there. But now Zeggers pulling away here with about 28 minutes left on the clock here. Of course, Sean Campbell's pulled away pretty big over his class. He's got Dayton Lowe behind him, Bradley Holly, and of course Jack Hedgecox is your LMP2 leader.
Right on board with Caleb Lehman as Zeggers got by him, misses the corner, and oof. That's why Caleb was flashing the lights. If you're going to pass me, I think they even made a little bit of contact down the front straight, and then almost ends Caleb Lehman's race immediately. Nathan Ray in trouble in turn 8. He's going to fall to the back of the field in GTP, losing the front end of that car. The blend, though, is what I wanted to see between Boris Ovando and Daniel Zeggers. We'll look at that in a moment. Here's what happened to Ray. Totally on his own, maybe a little bit of target fixation with John Krauser on the inside, but all on Nathan, unfortunately. And there he goes again, one corner later into turn 9. That car is not very happy with Nathan and is not obeying his wishes. But what you didn't see is Boris Ovando has actually jumped Daniel Zeggers. The blend has worked out in Boris' favor. Zeggers getting held up, holding up himself even more with making contact with the turn 1 wall, and put Boris Ovando up one spot ahead. And Pat Pelshaw ahead of both of them.
Yeah, Pat Pelshaw doing a great job here ahead of both of them. And here's a car down pit. Was that Ray? I can't tell from this front view, Joey.
Yeah, Nathan Ray coming down. Very, very ill car. And going to try and get that repaired in the next 26 minutes. Here is Pat Pelshaw, though. Pretty quiet day from him. Will likely be a quiet fight for P2 as he was pretty far ahead of this battle for third, but anything can happen in 26 more minutes at Long Beach. Darian Roy potentially in trouble. He is P5 right now, but he may have had a little bit of trouble at the hairpin. Here's Darian, not at the hairpin, through turns 4 and 5, up over the curbs, and there he goes.
Look at maybe
Little drift
from the wall a little bit right before that curb hit. Yeah, nice job saving it. That's really the best place to spin it if you're going to spin it anywhere, by the way. And here comes the 26.
Hi, Sean. I don't care about you. You're going to win the race. Dayton Lowe is the driver I want to see. Second place when he came into the pits. It's going to be a blend for third. Pat Pelshaw likely going to be second. Campbell likely going to be first. But Lowe, the battle is between him and Boris Ovando. Pit time for Boris Ovando. I got to look at my timing screen right now. It was about 8.8 seconds. A much longer stop for Dayton Lowe, 12 seconds. I think that means he took tires and Boris didn't, but the blend is still going to be fairly close. Dayton on the left side of your screen. Down on the bottom, it's Ovando, followed by Zegers. Is Lowe going to be able to jump both of them? It's going to be close into turn 1. Here comes Boris. Boris does get by Lowe. It's a longer ride. Have to make sure not to get an unsafe pit exit penalty there. And he does slot directly in front of Daniel Zegers. He splits the middle, but that'll likely be P4 overall for Mr. Dayton Lowe. But that did look a little bit dicey. I wouldn't expect a driver like Dayton Lowe to make a mistake exiting pit lane, but we'll see at the end of this lap if he was actually within the rules or if he turned a little bit early, because it's very, very tough through there. You have to go so deep into the corner and turn so late to not clip the cone, to not clip that line. But we'll see here. We'll get the answer very, very quickly if Dayton was within the confines of the rules. He's still got the pressure behind him, though, with Daniel Zegers into turn 9. Everything straightforward here. Nicholas Schwartz coming down pit lane to take himself out of P2. He'll fall down to his actual resting place and out of the hairpin. Dayton Lowe. Yes, he was. He did make it out of pit lane safely. No unsafe pit exit for him. The battle's on for 24 more minutes.
24 minutes means we're already about 21 minutes done with this race. We're right about the halfway point here. And watch this replay.
Yeah, he was fine.
Man.
He was fine. Just trying to spice this up, trying to throw in a little bit more drama.
As if this track needs a little more drama. Look at that beautiful pass right there. We had a hard time in the grid talking about the pink and the pink. That is the actual. That's Jeff Evans, I believe.
Yeah, P2 for the moment. Not actually P2. Slightly off strategy, doing the usual thing that some of these teams and drivers like to do when you're not necessarily fighting up front. Might as well go as long as possible, find some clean air, and extend that stint for as long as possible to at least get yourself some TV time and maybe even get yourself a better finishing result at the end of it all. Jeff does have to look in the rearview mirror, though, because Johnny Luna in his shiny new Acura is actually putting the pressure on. He's not going to be able to go for it in turn 1, but Johnny is all over the back of Jeff. This is not just Jeff riding off into the sunset.
No, definitely not. Jeff's going to be under fire here a little bit. And of course, we saw Jeff's dad, Doug, in the last race, and we see them both on Wednesday nights in the Grand National Series. At one point, they were lined up to win father-son 1-2 at Talladega last week, Joey.
Yeah, I believe they did. It didn't. They did it many seasons ago. They did it in the trucks at Talladega, I think in my first season of covering that series, but it's been a while. They've not been as lined up.
Yeah, and then Jeff at one point pushed his dad to a win at Indianapolis, I think in the Grand Nationals, if I remember right. In that fashion as well. Well, here's a different battle on track. Alex Crow and Tyler Pierre Richards. That's that other pinkish looking car. More purple on track than I think it looked in the grid photo. To be honest with you, these guys are 5th and 6th on track here in the LMP2 battle. And man, Tyler Pierre is attacking those corners.
Yeah, looks to the inside of Alex. Doesn't actually have anything, but that's something we see so often in this kind of racing, Derek. When it is a little bit of a train, when it is so difficult to make an overtake on your fellow class car, just poking the nose out, making it be visible is very important. Being able to put the pressure on. He's not going to be able to put as much pressure on, though, as you just saw him a couple of moments ago. Clip the wall a little bit in the exit turn 8.
Yeah, it's almost like we should have a count, like counter here or a display text of who doesn't hit a wall here at Long Beach. That might be the shorter list rather than thinking about who has hit a wall here at Long Beach, as you see him still everywhere. Barney's got the perfect view of this race up there from the stand. Just gets to look down on this track and be out of the way.
We're in a little bit of a holding pattern, a little bit of calm as we're waiting for the last 3 GTPs to come down pit lane. We're waiting for basically the entirety of the LMP2 field to come down pit lane. But as we are in that holding pattern, I say we take this opportunity to talk with the driver who's currently in 4th, will be in 1st in a couple of moments. Sean Campbell was not excited to be here today. He said he was honestly thinking about skipping this week. He said the Acura was going to be bad, but yet again, when he says he's going to be bad, he puts it on pole by about half a second and runs away with the race. You've done it again, Sean. You lied to me.
But everybody else is in the Acura.
What about Nathan Bartley?
Is he in the Porsche?
He was, and then he crashed in like lap 1. Yeah, that didn't help him very much. So what's the problem with the Acura this week? Why are you so unhappy with it?
So the issue with the Acura is, I think everybody who has driven it or has driven against it is very well aware, is that the power band's too small, I guess, is a simple way of saying it. And the gearing is too long for the power band. So you come out of any low speed corner in 1st gear and there's no power for a good like 2 seconds, as opposed to the other cars where it's immediate. Which is why the Cadillac is usually the quickest car here, every single time, no matter the BOP. It has incredible rotation at low speed and instant torque. Almost instant, at least. Naturally aspirated life. But it's not like a turbo lag issue or anything. It's just straight that the power band is not big enough for the gearing. Which is why we don't use long gearing at Daytona. It's slower, in fact, to use long gearing at Daytona on this car.
Darian Roy, the Porsche who was leading, he's down pit lane. Johnny Luna down pit lane. Now, here's your challenge. You're going to have one challenge for today. Can you pass Jeff Evans for the overall race lead before he has to make his pit stop?
Well, if he's pitting now, perhaps not. And I don't want to ruin his race because, you know, we're not racing.
It's Jeff. You can play with him.
Nah.
You can bully him a little bit. He's a friend of the show.
No, we stay behind the LMP2s as well. Oh, never mind.
Oh.
The LMP2 is a lot quicker. Oh, I'll pass.
There we go. Yep, here, you got your chance. He made it easy.
Not doing it.
He's not doing it? No, he's boo!
I respect boo.
I bet Jeff's booing you right now in the cockpit, too.
Nah. But the LMP2 is actually quicker through there, by the way, did you know? Which is why we really don't see us passing them.
Yeah, it's been very, very awkward traffic interactions so far today.
Sean, are you sad it's a dry racetrack?
Honestly, no. That would make this car even more undrivable here. It's just an unfortunate. I mean, I always love rain. It would be a lot of fun, but this would be terrifying. To drive street circuit in the wet with single file line through the fountain. Like, where do you go? You know?
Now, if anybody at Woodaback is listening right now, it would be really funny if Jeff decides to take this lap to be the one lap where he misses turn 8 and crashes directly in front of Sean.
Yeah, we'll see it.
Or if Jeff just wants to make sure the brakes work.
Well, he's kind of putting on a show right now. He's pulling away from Pat, so I'm just going to keep sitting behind him. Oh, he missed that one a little bit.
Yeah, this is like... You're giving him the pressure he needs to succeed. You should just be behind every race.
You're right, but he didn't crash.
Darn. That
would
have
we're
been...
pulling away from Pat.
Yeah.
So...
That would have been a highlight for the season if just turn 1, you're just like, yeah, I'll ride behind him, and then he takes you with him.
Yeah, imagine. Hit the tire barrier and bounce all the way back and get me.
Jeff's gonna like this when he watches this back, and I choose to believe that right now he's thinking, I'm just not gonna pit. I'm just gonna hold on here. I'm gonna save fuel, see how long Sean actually wants to stay behind me, and just win this on fuel mileage.
Well, I'll sit behind him as long as it needs to take. I've also got an interesting problem that I wonder if anybody else is having with ERS, so I kind of need to sit behind him for the draft.
Would it be possible to go this whole way with no stop if you saved enough fuel, or is that just physically impossible?
I think you could do it. It's probably not faster anymore. There was a time when it was a lot faster to do it, but they nerfed the fuel tank size, I think, because of it. But, no, you definitely could. But also, isn't this league required? Doesn't this have a requirement?
No.
Or am I thinking of a different one?
Pit stops required by the laws of physics frequently, but not required by the rules, as Dayton Lowe is unfortunately out in turn 1. He's crashed, and I think that's our cue, Sean. I'll let you and Jeff continue with your little tea party. I'll see how long this edging session continues, and we'll see you in a little bit.
All right.
Sean Campbell getting out. Let's see what happened to Dayton Lowe, Derek, into turn 1.
Now let's take a look at it here. We're going to be watching side by side. Oh, man. This got crunched in there. Just not on purpose, I don't think, but that turn is only so wide and 2 cars can't go through it together. And Dayton Lowe paid the price for trying it.
Jeff has finally opened the door for Sean to get by. It's going to be a battle down the front stretch, though. Side by side, Acura v. Acura. Fight this, Jeff. Fight this hard. You've got Austin Hunter in the chat. You got Mark Kalin in the chat. You got Nick McLaughlin in the chat cheering you on. Later on the brakes than you've ever been, Jeff. Darn, Sean Campbell takes it away.
Wow. Great job by Sean. Sean really played a game of cat and mouse there. We know he could have done it a while ago. Let's watch this again. Oh, man.
Yeah, that was Dayton and Daniel Zeggers having a little bit of an incident into turn 1, and Kaplow. Oh, and Kwok Nin. How did Kwok Nin get back out on the track? How did that happen? There goes Daniel Zeggers' rear end, and poor old Kwok, as soon as he gets back out of the track, let's break the 4th wall and see how that happened.
This instant replay is what's going to happen right here. Let's see it again in this moment. And Kwok, nope, didn't hit a wall there.
Oh, I think he was just letting people by, because he's just trying to complete laps here. He was just trying to let people by, and I think he may have caused a little bit more trouble by doing that.
That's petrifying. Like, no disrespect to Kwok. I was going to bring this up earlier in broadcast and couldn't find a spot for it, but like, there are some road courses where you know drivers try to let each other by, and you try to be polite, maybe give someone a corner. And I was looking at the track thinking, there's nowhere to do that, Joey. Like, there's nowhere here to let someone by without being in the way.
Look at this low downforce setup for Daniel Zeggers. You know, you never want a low downforce setup at Long Beach, but he's got to make it work for 14 more minutes.
No, that's got to be petrifying. It's got to be hard to handle, especially through some of those corners. I would think that's got to be this difficult. But look at Alex Crow here trying to hold back Tyler Pierre, Rob Campbell. Sorry, Lord Rob Campbell. Don't want to get in trouble with his majesty for that. And then Chip back there in P7. This is going on in the LMP2 battle. So really, Alex been right here in the camera shot all day long, really holding off Tyler Pierre. What feels like maybe half the race now. They've been P4, P5 in that order.
And we still haven't seen pit stops for the majority of the field in LMP2. These fuel tanks have just been able to go very, very far. And I'm going to bring up the same question I asked Sean, Derek. It may not have been faster in GTP, but with a slightly longer range in these LMP2 cars, could we potentially see the zero stop come into effect in the LMP2s? I think we've seen that in the past.
You could. I think it has to be from someone really maybe like a Tyler Pierre who has been really planning for it, maybe drafting all race, maybe hanging back a little bit. I do know in the driver's briefings, the reason I knew the rule about there not being the pit stop required is in the driver briefings, it was specifically said, hey, if you can do it, you can do it. PRL does not require a pit stop. So it was brought up in the driver briefings as being possible. Now, the question of if it's faster or if you know, pit delta versus the time you spend saving fuel, I don't know. That'd be a separate question. But yeah, it's doable.
I'm going to do my research, Derek, and look into the past seasons, because we have been here in this series before. It may have been last season. It may have been the season before. Actually, no. What am I talking about? The season before didn't exist. Last season was the first season. But I think we did come to Long Beach, so I'm going to look up that result and see if anybody was able to make it happen, as we have a pass on track, actually, for the first time in a while. Tyler Pierre Richards and Alex Crow going at it into the fountain section. Not a pass after all. Alex Crow hangs on.
Not a pass at all, but it was an attempt. Looked like an attempted pass, maybe Tyler Pierre just backed out of here and decided to live another day. Now let's look for the third car in view. This is Lord Rob Campbell on board with me. Oh, sorry, backed up. Sorry, that's on Chip. Michael is back in P7 on board with us. Sorry, wrong name there. And man, look at how much Chip is fighting that wheel, Joey. I love this camera angle in any broadcast we do, because watching that wheel right there tells you how easy or difficult of a day a driver is having.
Got those fast hands. He's got those Pato Award hands, trying to make it work on the streets, hopping the curb in turn 9. Going to be waiting a little while longer for another opportunity. We do have some pit stops in LMP2, though. a lot of them for damage. Caleb Lehman, unfortunately, has run into trouble. He's down pit lane and still down pit lane for about 6 minutes. Nathan Mon got into trouble. John Leedy got into trouble as well. Jeff Evans is down pit lane in GTP. It's a long stop, though. That's not good news, Derek. Either potentially forgot to uncheck tires or got a penalty of some sort, because he's still in there. He's still waiting.
Well, that is unfortunate for Jeff. Had a great time tonight. Got a lot of good camera time and was able to kind of race around Sean Campbell for a while, but now is down at pit road for a while. And this battle is still going on. And I just don't know, Joey, with a 4-car line like this, I don't know if there's any possible spot to really make a pass in that group. Oh my gosh. That has got to be the fastest and hardest hit we've seen all night.
Yeah, and Nico Sonadakis, Darian Roy just trying to find a way by. Sonadakis ends up getting sandwiched like Jack Harvey did this weekend. But shockingly, every car involved in that is somehow still moving and pointed straight. So well done, everybody, for mostly making it through there. Unfortunate news for Nico Sonadakis, though, is he's finally forced to make a second pit stop. He absolutely got enough damage from that incident to be forced down pit lane yet again.
Yeah, that was unfortunate indeed. That was, I mean, I said the fastest and the hardest hit, because it was up against the wall, not against one of those tire walls like you see there in the bottom of that shot for a second ago. But here is Daniel Zegers and Boris Obando, 3rd and 4th in our top class under GTPs. And I cannot believe Zegers is racing that well, Joey, without the wing.
Yeah, wings don't matter. That's what we're learning here, apparently. You can survive at Long Beach for, I think it's been about 10 minutes now with no rear wing. That's good science there. Also, I do know when the last Long Beach race was in this series. It was round 1 of last season, and now I have to actually look through the race results and look through how things went to see if any LMP2 drivers were able to make it happen on 0 stops. So that's going to be my next job. And also, this is the 3rd season of the series, not the 2nd. I don't know why I said that.
Yeah, this is the 3rd season indeed. Now they go around that fountain. And now, oh, I thought he was going to look there, and he almost did Ovando and sort of backed out at the last second. Now they come through this wide corner, possibly the widest one on the track here. And Zegers is holding a big gap there. Now through the left-hander. And yeah, Zegers doing a great job. It's hard to imagine how much harder that car must be to navigate without that little bit of extra, downforce playing a factor. Doing a great job here. And this means you wonder if Ovando is being patient. He knows there's 9 minutes left. No need to pounce yet. I'm sure he has a pounce ready when he thinks the time is right.
I have good news for you, Derek. Jeremy Carter, last season, did a 0 stop and finished P2. So it is possible. It could happen. Somebody could pull it off and potentially win this race on a 0 stop. It's probably going to have to be somebody in the top 3. It's going to have to be Caruso or Wallace who pulls it off, because pit lane is long enough that Hedgecox would be able to make it down pit lane and still finish ahead of Alex Crow. But if Caruso or Wallace have been saving fuel, they can get it done. Boris Ovando bonks it off the turn 1 wall there, though.
Yeah, I think the top candidates to do it, I said this earlier, and I believe it would be Tyler Pierre back in P5, because he's really been, drafting, or whatever the term you want to use here, off of Alex Crow for so long that I gotta believe he's saving gas doing it. So that's why I think the most likely candidate, because if you're saving gas in that draft, it's less gas you need to burn in this race. There's another car. That's Chip Michaels down pit road. That was P7, so we know he's not going to do it. And he'll be down there. That's Chip Michaels. There you go.
Daniel Zegers, sorry, Derek, is falling down the order. I think he may finally have realized that you do probably need a rear wing at Long Beach, as Chip Michaels finally makes his pit stop. Ovando running away from Zegers, who continues to lose time. Bradley Holly gets by him now, and he's pulling off to the side of the road. Didn't see what happened to him. We'll spool the replay machine up, but you have to imagine that was the result of not having a rear wing into turn 8. Here it is. Boom. Needed that little bit of rear end downforce. There's not a lot. You don't need a lot, but you needed a little there.
Yeah, you definitely need a little bit right there. So he'll go down and get that fixed possibly, or at least fall out of the way and try to be involved. Here's Alex Caruso, by the way, now down pit road. He was P2 in class before this pit stop. And also Luke Wallace is P3, you see on the side of your screen there, is now down pit road. So Crow,
there goes the 0 stop.
Still need to come.
There goes the 0 stop. It's not going to happen for the race win today. Caruso and Wallace both stop. Hedgecox could do a zero stop for all we know, but what would be the point? He's going to win the race anyway. Alex Crow and Rob Campbell could do it as well. It might end up second for them. That could be good. That's exactly what Jeremy Carter did last season. It didn't get him the win. It got him second, though, which was better than he could have asked for. And speaking of Jeremy Carter, look who's up into P5 ahead of Luke Wallace now. It could be a podium for Jeremy Carter 2 seasons in a row. Is he going to pull off the same strategy, Derek, to do it?
Yeah, I think it's in his head. To come out, and of course iRacing made all kinds of updates to the fuel tanks and everything since then, but I don't think anything has happened update wise that should prevent or that should cause a change in strategy from last season. You gotta stop tapping that wall though, that makes me nervous.
Hedgecox from the race lead in LMP2 comes down. He's going to come out in P1. He's got a pit stop margin over Alex Crow and even more than that. So he could have an especially long stop and he'd still be fine. 8.3 seconds, fairly straightforward stuff. And Jack Hedgecox will rejoin the racing service in a very comfortable lead. And this has been more of a Jack Hedgecox-like race. As I've mentioned, he's had an up and down season so far. Won round 1 pretty dominantly. Had a bad day in the wet at Imola, trying on a new challenge. Finished second to Alex Caruso after getting straight up beaten last week. But now this has been the traditional Jack Hedgecox beatdown out of pit lane. A second ahead of Alex Crow. Congrats on your win if you can hang on for 5 more minutes, Jack Hedgecox.
Yeah, that'll be the question. Can he hang on here and how the car will behave here? Alex Crow is now able to put on the pressure a little bit there, and we'll see what he can do with it. Right now it's Hedgecox, Crow, Campbell, Caruso, and I was wrong. Tyler Pierre has, I guess, now pitting. He's fallen well down the board, so there goes my pick for a zero stop.
Over for TPR, unfortunately. I wonder if Crow can actually make the zero stop happen, because he's lost quite a bit of time over the last couple of, or I should say the last 40 minutes, basically. I think he's been saving fuel and falling down the order. If he can make this happen for just 4 more laps, he might be able to pull off a podium in a race where he was likely going to be fighting for 4th or 5th or 6th. So we'll see. Out of the hairpin here. Does he take a hard right down pit lane? Does he prove me wrong as well? No, he doesn't. He's staying out. Rob Campbell's staying out as well. These 2 guys might be going for the zero stop if they have enough fuel, Derek.
Yeah, we'll see. You know, and I respect that move sometimes. In order to be successful in life, Joey, you have just to be different than other people. That's how you become successful, and almost anything you do is by being different. You can't copycat someone. You know, you're seen as a copycat of them, not successful. So sometimes in order to be successful, you have to try something different, and a zero stop would be just that. It would put you up in a new spot in the leaderboard, possibly get you a big points day if you need one. And Alex Crow is possibly going to do it. Rob Campbell, you know, be a big benefit for him. You know, he's doing well in the points. You saw that before the race started on the broadcast graphics. So great job for both these guys if they can hold on for another 3 minutes and 40 seconds.
And you know the proof that this is what they're trying, Derek? Fastest lap of the race for Jack Hedgecox, 1:11.6. Fastest lap for Alex Caruso, 1:11.6. Fastest lap for both of those guys, 1:11.6. Fastest lap for Alex Crow, though, 1:12.4. Fastest lap for Campbell, 1:12.6. Fastest lap for Jeremy Carter, 1:13. Those are not drivers who are slower than Hedgecox and Caruso in terms of pace. Those are drivers who are slower in terms of trying to save fuel. Unfortunately, though, for Rob Campbell, he's not able to make it happen. His strategy comes afoul, and he wasn't able to save enough. He has to come down pit lane for a splash.
And man, what happened there on top of that was he really checked up pretty hard in that last corner before he went in for pit road, and kind of thought he was going to really create an accordion behind him with the traffic, but it all worked out. That's why I got nervous. But let's listen on board here with Alex Crow for a second, Joe.
Big fuel stave spots are going to be into turn 6 here, into turn 9, and into turn 1. Definitely lifting off a little bit early there. He's trying to do it. When he gets to the line, it'll only be 3 more laps to go, but that is a lot of fuel to continue saving.
You know, and the one thing about this surprising me about his fuel saving, a lot of times one of the bigger ways to fuel save, Joey, is not going up and down the gears. And actually, I guess he kind of is. Now, that was first gear right there. A lot of times when a driver's trying to fuel save, they may never touch first gear again. They might only get it down to second gear and kind of deal with it, because whenever you throw an engine down to lower gear, the revs go up and it squirts the fuel into the engine. So I was kind of surprised to see him playing with the gears. as much as he was.
There's your overall race leader, Mr. Sean Campbell, getting by Eddie Layton, getting by Alex Crow, and getting very, very familiar with the turn 1 wall, but not making contact with it. That's the margins that Sean Campbell's playing with. Alex Crow going to be getting a little bit frustrated here. And it's a lap car. He's not fighting with him for position, and now Eddie does pull over, lets Alex by. But if anything, that might have been a good thing for Alex Crow. That let him save a little bit of fuel getting held up there. And unfortunately, Eddie actually holds up his teammate a little bit, Alex Caruso, coming through turn 6 and 7.
Yep, turn right there. You see him not side by side, back to back would be the word I'm looking for. As here we go with about a minute left, so about 2 laps left likely. When Sean Campbell comes by this time, he will get the white flag from Barney the Flagman. So this race is just about over, and really for both class leaders, no surprise than we expect. But it's the races behind them that matter so much.
White flag for Sean Campbell. 2 more miles, and he's got yet another win in the PRL, but he's got to make sure that an LMP2 car doesn't crash immediately in front of him. He's got to make sure he doesn't lose focus. And further back in LMP2, Alex Crow has to hope there's enough fuel left in that tank to make it to the end of the race. Anthony Dring gets into a little bit of trouble in turn 1 in front of Crow. That might allow him to save a little bit more fuel. He'll have a little bit of a draft down these longest straights, or not, as Dring loses it coming out of turn 4. He's going to fall out of line, and now it's Crow versus the world as Dring toes it into the little section where Marcus Ericsson ended up behind the wall. He's just trying to bring it to the finish.
Yeah, just trying to hold on to it and bring it down to the finish here. Now Sean Campbell is right behind him. If Crow's going to move out of the way, Crow would do well if he needs to save fuel to let Campbell by. There you go, and then get behind him. Any kind of draft matters. It won't be as strong with Campbell to be the one making the wake, but who knows?
Final corner for Sean Campbell. The other day, we had a member of the PRL community, Patrick Cowgill, update the statistics so they're accurate. We've got the correct numbers, and I can tell you this is Sean Campbell's 28th win in the PRL. He gets it done. Immediately behind him, Jack Hedgecox wins in LMP2 as well, and Alex Crow take a bow. 0 stop at Long Beach. Pulls off the fuel strategy Jeremy Carter style to make it P2. And speaking of Jeremy Carter, 2 seasons in a row, 2 Long Beach races in a row. The 0 stop gives Jeremy Carter a better finish than he could have asked for.
Yeah, great job by Jeremy Carter. Obviously has got a strategy here and is playing it well. 2 seasons in a row, 2 top 5s.
And that was win number 11 for Jack Hedgecox as well, so well and truly into the double digits. Ties him with a guy in GTP, Boris Ovando. Same amount of wins for those 2 drivers. And Hedgecox's championship charge is very much back on the rails, going for 3 out of 3 in an LMP2 car. He's the Sean Campbell of LMP2s. We can say that much. And he's proven that yet again. Maybe trying to get a little bit of a celebration in, waiting for everybody to finish crossing the line, but there's still a couple more cars to go before he can.
Yeah, this is
when he's got his buddy Chip, they're gonna Chip pulled away before they could do a little LMP2 kiss. How heartbreaking.
Oh, there it is.
Hi, Darian. How much fun. We have so much fun. We have so much fun in this series. Daniel Zeggers is having so much fun. He had to turn a couple of extra laps. But Sean Campbell, victorious for the 28th time in the PRL. Pat Pelshaw, defending champion, comes home second after a very quiet day. And Boris Ovando in the 22 rounds off the podium. Bradley Holly, excellent day from him. 1 spot off the podium, he finishes P4, and the lead non-Acura, in a day when non-Acuras were thought to be favored, is Darian Roy in 5th place. Johnny Luna was P6, Jeff Evans from 13th to 7th, and a couple of laps led. A little bit of glory, holding Sean Campbell behind him. He'll fall back on that. Karsten Quint, unfortunately, starts the used car lot as he was 4 laps down. Nikos Sanidakis and Nathan Ray, 6 laps down, but in a race of attrition at Long Beach, that's all you need to finish in the top 10. Nicholas Schwartz was also 6 laps down as he falls outside of the top 10. And then heartbreak for Daniel Zeggers and Dayton Lowe as they were battling for the podium all race long. Unfortunately, both of their days end 12th and 13th. Kwok Nin, 19 laps down. Big crash for him. John Rice and Nathan Bartley, early wrecks for both of them. mean unfortunate circumstances for their finishing results. Jack Hedgecock's victorious in LMP2 for the 11th time in his PRL career. Alex Crow pulls off the 0 stop, and Alex Caruso doesn't pull off the 0 stop, still comes home with a podium though. Jeremy Carter, 0 stop master P4 ahead of Luke Wallace. Andrew Wood, P6 from him, great run for him. Campbell, Tyler Pierre Richards, and Chip Michaels round out the lead lap finishers. Craig Bray, just 1 lap down, but does finish in the top 10. Then Eddie Layton, Anthony Dring, both of them had assorted amounts of trouble, but still finished 1 lap down. Jeff Fleischman and John Krauser did as well. Joshua Chinsky had some early trouble, rallied back to finish 15th. Josh Goen was 6 laps down, and now we're into the used car lot of cars with heavy damage. Nathan Mon, John Leedy, Matthew Carroll, and old Caleb Lehman down to the end of the top 20. Dino Vella was 21st after an early crash, and poor old Terrence Griffin, I don't believe we ever had him get off the start. So that's the end of our finishing results, and now we wait to talk to some very happy drivers, including a guy we talked to about 20 minutes ago. We'll start with our GTP winner yet again, Mr. Sean Campbell. There you go. I don't even know what I can ask you anymore. You want to? I don't know. What do we talk about now?
How's the weather?
Weather? I mean, it was colder than I would have liked today. It was sunny, but it was back to being like 50 degrees. I want spring. What's it like down there in North Carolina?
It's not bad, except at nighttime. For whatever reason, yesterday night everything was frosted up. Even though the day of, like today, it was like what, 85 or something crazy.
Yeah. Isn't it supposed to be spring? What happened to that?
I don't know. I don't.
Boo hiss. So next week, you gonna lose?
Next week's Mugello, right? That's
yeah.
One of my favorites. But
oh no!
It's the favorite of all Assetto Corsa GT3 public lobbies. So I've driven it a lot in there.
And you fought through the battlefields of Assetto Corsa public GT3 lobbies,
yes,
I'm sure.
Yes, you always go last to first in those. Very fun.
Well, Sean, this was win number 28 for you. You're getting closer to 30. You'll be there before too long, but until then, we'll see you next week. We'll see if you survive until Mugello.
Hopefully.
Sean Campbell, victorious in GTP. And we'll kick him out of the booth and welcome in another guy who's similar levels of dominant. Mr. Jack Hedgecock is victorious, and he's with Derek.
Well, Jack, here we are. Another PRL win under your belt at a very, very busy, very, very crowded Long Beach. How bad was the traffic out there?
It actually wasn't too bad this week, Derek. It was, I think I only got passed by, well, maybe the top 5 of GTP. I think the rest of them didn't finish, so I didn't see many of them. I only saw Sean and Pat and them once they pitted. It was pretty clean, so definitely better than last season, that's for sure. With the traffic, everyone did well with coordinating the start there, so couldn't have asked for a better week, honestly. It was great.
So obviously you had the down week in Imola in the rain. Last week you really battled back from a first lap incident and came back P2. This week is a win. What's the outlook for the rest of the season?
Wins, baby. I would say I just got to put in the time, and I knew last week I had pace for the win, and it was just unfortunate what happened. And all I can do is just keep on trying to win. It's what you got to do to win the championship with a group that in the top up here that's fast. So got to get the points where you can, and to do that, you got to win every week.
Well, there you go. Jack and DJ Khaled, all they do is win. Well, I got one more question for you. What is your favorite street course? Is it Long Beach, or is it a different course? Maybe that's not available in iRacing.
Favorite street course. I'm pretty good at Long Beach, but I do like Jeddah in the F1, and same with Baku. Those are pretty nice to drive. Wish they would add one of those. But in terms of iRacing, I don't know many other street courses. Definitely ain't Detroit. That's for sure. So probably Long Beach on iRacing, anyways.
There you go.
Pretty good success here.
There you go. Yeah, doing pretty well. Well, great job today, and I suppose we will see you next week.
Thank you. Have a good night, y'all.
All right, have a good night, Jack. Well, that's Jack Hedgecock's winner in the LMP2s.
Wonder what Jack is short for. Is it short for John, or is it short for Jackalis? I don't know. But what I do know is that Pat Pelshaw is short for Practice Pelshaw, and yet again, practice has paid off, especially at a place like Long Beach. P2 back on the podium. How does that feel?
It feels good. It feels good to be back after 2 weeks. Had some other duties. So yeah, Long Beach again, P2 for the second season in a row. Man, Sean is so quick. Gotta give it to him, man. He's an alien.
Yeah, that is the unfortunate reality of the series this season, Pat. The kinds of runs you were having last season, now Sean's doing them to you. What do we need in the final 5 rounds or so of this season to catch him, to make it a Pat versus Sean battle?
More practice? No. To be honest, I think just some more setup work and just work on pace. But in reality, I don't think Sean is catchable this season. He's like in another league. So yeah, I'm getting a run for my money.
There we go. Back down to earth for our defending champion. But practice Pelshaw, you know he's going to be putting in the practice. Pat, congrats on the podium, and we'll see you at Mugello next week.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Pat Pelshaw, P2, a lot of P's. Let's finish things off though. Alex Crow is here with us after his P2 finish. 0 stops gets him to talk to Derek.
Well, Alex, I have to ask about the 0 stop. That's obviously the topic here. So was that the plan all along, or did it sort of fall in your lap, or how did that come to be?
That was the plan from the outlap, if I'm being honest. Outlap, I was just rolling around as smooth as I could. Went straight into fuel saving. Actually started saving for a lap longer than we actually went. I think I realized with about 5 to go. I had half a lap extra of fuel, so I tried to burn that off as best as I could, but worked out in the end. It was really close between me and Jack when Jack came out of the pits there.
Yeah, it was a great race overall. You headed down into a second or a second and a half when Jack came out of the pit road here. So how was the racing team? Lots of wall hits from lots of drivers, lots of traffic in the way. What was your experience?
Well, I heard from my spotter that you guys were calling me slow early in the race before you realized my strategy. All good though. It was really just staying out of trouble, trying to defend what I had. I know Tyler and Rob were pretty on the back of me for half the race, really. Just trying to stay out ahead of them and keep as much time to Jack as I could, but obviously I couldn't push very hard, just trying to wait and let the race come to me.
All right. Well, I asked Jack this question, and I'll ask it of you. Even if it's not in iRacing, what is your favorite street course?
Favorite street course? Probably Toronto. It's my home street course.
Little bias there.
Yeah, a little bias. It's a good track. I like it. The area it's in is really nice. If anyone has a chance to go to Toronto, lots of stuff to do in that area.
All right. Well, listen. Well, great job on the no stop. Great job on the P2, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Derek. See you.
All right. There's a driver of the 990, Joey. Finished P2 without stopping.
And just now, shock horror, we learned Alex Crow is Canadian. Gasp! All the surprises being kept for us at the end of the day. But no surprises coming next week, as you know. As Sean Campbell told us, as he's prepared so much on other sims, it's Mugello next week. Still one of the newer tracks on iRacing, but always a challenge. High speed. Talk about a place where it's going to be difficult to pass multi-class traffic. The middle sector at Mugello, that is going to be quite painful if you do end up having to do that. But we survived Long Beach today. We survived Imola, 2 very, very exciting races, and we hope you'll join us same time, same place here next week for another pair of races, Aragon and Mugello for LMP3-GT4 and GTP LMP2. But until then, I've been Joey Tebbin. Derek Watson's been Derek Watson. We had Ted Lowendick and Sean Campbell sort of around, reporting from the car unpaid. And behind the scenes was our producer, Dustin Ollis. Until we see you next time, so long.